But I promise you, we'll take calls. We'll get to your texts. I want to hear from you guys. I know your feelings about the future of this season and, frankly, the future of the franchise to a certain extent because of where the trust is right now, I think, Logan, with certain people in place to make the proper decisions moving forward as well. But I want to make sure you guys know we will get to your calls coming up at 10:30 and throughout the show right here on 96.5 The Fan. But let's start with yesterday in particular. We can get to the playoff conversation and where things are at because I thought, and I'm guilty of this as well, you are not going to hear me ever again on this show cite Andy Reid post-bye week stat. I'm done with it. I'm done because that was the performance out of the bye week, the 22-4, whatever the heck the record was. And again, I said this is not putting blame on anybody else. I did the same thing. I'm done with talking about that because that was the self-scout. That was the type of performance that the entire coaching staff, and yes, Patrick Mahomes as well, we'll get to him. He's part of this equation, no question, with what happened yesterday, what has happened this season. Like, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Toub, I thought it was their worst coaching performance easily of the season, considering everything that was at stake. You're coming off a bye week. You know, a lot of the confidence going in the game, Logan, was that this was essentially a playoff game for the Chiefs. Everything on the line, backs against the wall. Typically, that's when Mahomes is at his best. It's when Andy Reid's at his best, when Dave Toub and Steve Spagnuolo, Chris Jones are all at their best. The only guy in that group that was somewhat better than they have been all year was Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his best, but it was his best of the season, I guess, I would argue. But that was the coaching performance. That was the quarterback performance out of a bye week. That's a sign that things are different. We're going to get to was this the start of the king being completely knocked down in the entire NFL, let alone just the division? But I don't know where you're at. I got a lot of thoughts, obviously, but that being the performance out of the bye week is what makes it even more frustrating.
There's something of an argument to be had for, and I heard multiple people say it yesterday. Yeah, I know the Chiefs were coming off a bye week, but the Denver Broncos had the Thursday night game, so they had a mini bye week of their own. I don't care. I really don't. The Broncos had 10 days to prepare. The Chiefs had 14. And this is still how it panned out. Now, the beginning script of the game, I think from the perspective of Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, played out really, really well. There was a serious and egregious level of a lack of execution from the Kansas City Chiefs offense in that first drive of the football game. And I hate to kind of knock on the guy because I still believe he's the best player on the planet, but Patrick Mahomes' lack of execution in that first drive was horrendous. You had not one, but two touchdowns on the first drive of the football game, and you overthrew both guys. That is sort of indicative of the larger problem that has been facing this team all year long. It seems like in the biggest moments, when they need it the most, that lack of execution, that killer mentality that we've always seen from them just hasn't panned out so far this year. What you said about Dave Toub, yeah, something's got to give. Something's got to give. I don't know. I'm not sitting here advocating for the firing of Dave Toub by any means because he has long been considered one of the best special teams coordinators in football. But my goodness, how long are we going to have to continue to just ignore the special teams woes of this football team? Penalties on every punt return and every kickoff return, missed kicks, blocked kicks, messing up the kick on a kickoff for the second time now this season. When's it going to give?
Yeah, we can go one by one. I mean, there's plenty of blame around yesterday. I think from starting with coaching, I mean, with Andy Reid, I think it's very simple that you came out of a bye week and this was the plan going in. A very predictable Kansas City Chiefs offense. And we all know, I think the part that has everybody the most frustrated about yesterday, and this has been at times an issue going back to his days in Philadelphia, but the Chiefs have been able to overcome what is clearly just a clear coaching flaw, right? No coach is perfect, but a clear coaching flaw. And when your team is simply not as good as they have been over the last 5 to 7 years, it is one that now gets you more than it did 2 years ago, more than it did 3 years ago. That is your complete unwillingness to pivot from what you actually want to do. Does that make sense? Clearly Andy Reid wants to win a certain way, and he has won a ton of football games. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Nobody is suggesting that that's not the case. However, there's a clear issue with what he wants to do, how he wants to close out a game, and what in that moment, like yesterday, is the best path to closing out said game. And I am, of course, talking about running the football. A complete lack of interest, willingness, stubbornness, all of it is the cause of it. They had the ball, Logan, as you know, with the lead, 3 and out, not a single pass play. They tried to run on first down, and then Noah Gray, I think, was false starting. And then they said, well, screw it. God forbid us try to go back to that. So then they pass, predictable. They punt it back to the Denver Broncos. As we all know, the Broncos end up at that point in time tying the game up at 19. It's 19-19. So the Chiefs get the ball again with just under 4 minutes or right above 4 minutes to go in the game. So at that point, they already went 3 and out. They get the ball back. It's tied. They go 3 and out again, and what do they not do? They don't run the ball a single time. And if you go back, and we're on this show, we joke all the time. I'm not going back and watching film or anything like that. That's not. This is just common sense stuff. Watching the game, right? The Broncos had zero respect or thought that the Chiefs themselves were willing to run the football. Like they watch film too. They know the track record of Andy Reid in this offense as well. Andy Reid was not going to run the ball. Kareem Hunt, nobody's suggesting that he's an all-pro running back or anything like that, but he was effective yesterday. He was averaging in the first half 4.9 yards per carry. This was not a Kareem Hunt issue yesterday whatsoever. This was in the final 2 drives, 3 and out, not a single run play. Make them think you're going to run. The Broncos were not worried about that. And so then when you try to even do play action off of it, it has no effect because they know you're not willing to run. That's where it's on Andy Reid. Then if we keep going, Logan, let's go to Steve Spagnuolo, who I think is still one of the best defensive coordinators we've seen in the NFL's history. Yesterday and across this season, predictability again. I'll call it a little less stubbornness, just more predictability on his side of things. I thought there was one stat in particular that was very telling. The Chiefs on 3rd and 10 or more, all right, allowing 3rd and 10 or more to be converted in a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. We all know the history of the Chiefs' success leading up to this season,
right.
1-score games. They won 12 of them in 1-score games. They're 0-5 this year. So this year, they have given up 4 3rd and 10s or longer in a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. 4 of them. Last year, you know how many they gave up?
I'm going to guess 0.
0, Logan. You know how many they gave up in 2023? 2. In 2022, 3. 21, 1. 2022, 2019, 1. And 2018, 1. They have already given up, in some cases, 3 more times than any other in the Steve Spagnuolo era. What I'm getting at is the disguising the unpredictable nature, which is what makes Steve Spagnuolo so amazing at what he has done throughout his career. It ain't working anymore. They have not adjusted. That's the biggest thing that I think is frustrating. And everybody has been targeting you for 5 to 7 years. You're the Kings. You're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. And you have kept the staff together. And on one hand, we praise that they've been able to keep the staff together. On the other hand, though, you have to consistently adjust. And this game in particular, and really this season in particular, is all about their inability to pivot from what they do. And how do you pivot from that? Do you need new people in the building? That's an off-season conversation.
Right.
Can you make those adjustments now that you see it not working in season? Are you willing to do that?
You have to. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. Take what the defense gives you. And we saw it throughout that first half. And you're exactly right. Sean Payton knew. This Denver coaching staff knew. No matter how successful Kareem Hunt was in the running game, they still weren't going to make running the football a priority. And so you're right. When they did get 5 yards on 1st and 10 on a running play, nobody's being fooled by a play action on 2nd down because everybody in the world knows they're going to throw the football. And again, there is something to be said for you've got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and how do you justify taking the football out of his hands in certain situations? But sometimes you have to do what's best for him, even when it means he doesn't get the football on a particular play. There were 3 separate occasions in last night's game yesterday, Alex, where the Chiefs had a 3rd and 2 or a 3rd and 1 situation. And all 3 times they threw the football. You've got Kareem Hunt. They've talked about it ad nauseum over the last few weeks, how successful the Chiefs have been running the football with Kareem Hunt on 3rd or 4th down and 2 or shorter so far this season with their ability to convert first downs or turn it into touchdowns. And yet, all 3 of those times, in big moments of the game, you decided to go ahead and throw the football. Sometimes what's best for you is not necessarily what you want to do. And you're exactly right. Andy Reid has always been more of a pass-first guy, especially since he arrived in Kansas City.
Yeah, you just have to pivot on what is currently happening for your team. Patrick Mahomes, right, in that particular game as well, and in the last 2 weeks in particular, going back to the Buffalo game, was not as sharp. He hasn't been as sharp in some of these bigger moments. He's pressing, right? I think we're going to talk about him and Bo Nix later on in the show in particular. But when Patrick Mahomes is pressing, even if it's not how you want to play, you have to be willing to just run the football and win in a different way. I call it, to me, it's arrogance is what it is. Basically, it's ego and it's arrogance at that point in time. And I know, and we'll get to your texts and calls, I promise, guys. We'll get to them starting at 10:30. We'll open up the phone lines, 913-586-7965. I see a lot about the running backs. Like, hey, he doesn't have the running back. I think that's just inaccurate. I'm not suggesting that Kareem Hunt's a top running back in the league, but guys, I feel more confident than ever if they would have traded for Breece Hall, or they could have Barry Sanders back there, Andy Reid still would have passed the football on those 2 drives.
Yep.
That's the bigger issue willingness to win in a different way. And maybe, we talk about, is this rock bottom and all that? If you think this team has any chance to, quote unquote, figure it out, and we're going to get to the playoff chances, et cetera, in a second, then they have to be willing to do something that they have really not shown they're willing to do during even this run. Someone said, stop talking about coaching. We'll get to Patrick Mahomes. Don't you worry. We will get to him. We'll get to player performances, drops from Rashee Rice, the reliance on Travis Kelce. He was great yesterday, but the fact that the offense is running through and relying on a, 36, 37-year-old tight end is also a problem. So I promise you, we'll get to the players. But if you're asking me just yesterday, who is the biggest reason for the loss, the biggest blame, coming out of a bye week, it 100% is the coaches for me. 100% starts with them. And then we get to Patrick Mahomes and others. It absolutely has to be a coaching staff issue when your team, who has a very similar roster, by the way, as a year ago, is now not winning in any one-score games. It's one thing to regress from 12-0 in one-score games. Like, I don't think they were going to be 12-0 again. That was historically great, not sustainable. But now you're 0-5? Like, regression that means that you know what, but at the same time, to this extent, your inability to win close games, we're going to get into phase 1 of what we talked about on Friday maybe happening, which was chopping the head of the king in the division. Now what's next, which is playoffs. We'll get to that at 10:30. But the AFC West run is obviously over. No kidding, right? It's done. I know mathematically they're not eliminated. We all know the AFC West is over. The question is the playoff run over? The run in playoffs, and for this case, the run of getting to a postseason with Patrick Mahomes and with Andy Reid. Remember, they have not missed a postseason since 2014. Mm-hmm. That's the last time they were not there. But they're 17-9 in their last 26 games decided by 8 or fewer. 4 straight losses, though, in that. 7 straight wins. That was the NFL record at the time.
Yeah, the 17 straight, yeah.
Yeah, and then 5 straight losses prior to that. Is the playoff run over for Kansas City? Because as I sit here today, despite what I just said, and I'm very frustrated, as you guys all are as well, I am not definitively saying today that the team is not making the playoffs. No, I'm not there yet, despite the issues, the path, the tough road ahead. I think they have to go 6-1 the rest of the way. I know 5-2, you get a bunch of help, but what help are you getting? You don't have the tiebreaker over Jacksonville. You don't have the tiebreaker currently over the Chargers. You'll play them later on, but they're also a couple wins in front of you. You have the tiebreaker over Baltimore, but I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh will sort themselves out through the division. And then we know the Texans currently have the tiebreaker over you. Now you do play them head-to-head later on in the season. I don't think 5-2 actually gets you in. I really don't. I think you need too much help and you don't have tiebreakers on your side. I think 6-1 would get you in. Obviously, winning out gets you in, and I have no reason to believe this team can win out. And so, to me, it comes down to the Colts game on Sunday. We'll talk about them later. And I understand the team lost yesterday, so it's very easy to sit here and say, like, how on earth do you think they possibly could win on Sunday? And I totally get that. But as I sit here today, no, I do not think they're not definitively making the playoffs. I do not think it's 100%, it's over. I know you and I were talking before the show. Where are you at on that?
I'm not going to say definitively that they can't make the playoffs, but I don't think they will. I lean towards this team not getting to the postseason this year. We will not be watching Kansas City Chiefs football in January. I just can't help but look at the other schedules of the other teams they're battling with right now. I mean, currently, they are the 9 seed in the AFC, meaning they have to jump not 1, but 2 spots minimum in order to get into the playoffs. Chiefs remaining schedule, Colts at home this week. Then it's on the road on a short week against the Dallas Cowboys, a team that has a really, really good offense. The defense has been lackluster, but they made some moves at the deadline that could make things a little bit more interesting in that game. Then you're at home on a long, sort of mini bye against the Houston Texans. A Texans team, I might add, that is the only National Football League team with a better overall defense so far this year, numbers-wise, than the Denver Broncos. They are the number 1 defense, total defense, in the National Football League. You got to play them coming off a short bye. Then it's the Chargers again. You got to play the Broncos again. The good part about that is that of those 4 or 5 teams that I just mentioned, you've got the majority of them, 4 of them, at home, right? You've got the Colts at home, Texans at home, Chargers and Broncos. The only road game is that Thanksgiving Day game against the Cowboys. But I look at the Texans, right? They've got the Bills this week on Thursday Night Football. Then it's on the road against the Colts, on the road against the Chiefs. They've got the Chargers on the road, Colts at home. So that leans towards the Chiefs having the better schedule in that one. So I would say you probably aren't competing as much with Houston. Baltimore, I'm with you on that. I think that Baltimore and or Pittsburgh is not really a threat in terms of the Chiefs' chances of making the postseason, because whoever wins that division will get in. The other team I don't think will be particularly close. Jacksonville, because you lost to them already, you're basically 2 games back of them right now. I know that the seedings would tell you, oh, Jacksonville's 6-4, Chiefs are 5-5. If you tie, you're out because you have the head-to-head. With games against the Cardinals, Titans, Colts twice, Jets, Broncos, and Titans, if the Jacksonville Jaguars split those 2 games between the Colts, win 1, lose 1, and lose to the Broncos, they're going to get in. And you don't stand much of a chance.
So right now we're going to get into what the odds say coming up in the next 25 minutes or so. By the way, make the playoffs -220, miss the playoffs +176. I don't know if people are just hearing what they want to hear or whatever. Maybe I spoke incorrectly and I did not mean to say what somebody said I said, which is I'm not ready to say they're missing the playoffs. And people have taken that saying that I'm saying they're missing the playoffs. You sound way less. You are saying that you think they're missing the playoffs.
I lean towards them missing the playoffs.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. While I acknowledge the path is very challenging for them, but I think if they look at the next 2 weeks, Colts and Cowboys, like I think you would even admit if they were to find a way to win those games, and I get it, we're talking about a team after a loss, so now everybody's acting like they're going to lose every single game the rest of the way. If they win the next 2 games, would you actually think they're making the playoffs then, or no?
If they win both, yes.
Okay, so
but I don't have a ton of confidence that they can win both.
So like right now, like I wouldn't, someone say put a bet in. Well, I'm not making a bet at -220. That's a terrible bet to make to make the playoffs. But I'll put it this way: would you put money right now at +176 for them to miss the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I wouldn't. That's the difference. That's where we differ on the path towards the postseason.
Hey. I think you guys should be more. I think this is all going to plan. I tried telling you guys this in July that this is exactly how it was going to go. They'd be 3-3 after 6. They'd be 5-5 after 10, and they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. And maybe that's me of all people being the optimist for the Chiefs in this situation, but for whatever reason, it feels like
feels like a Drew troll right now. Is what this feels like.
If you want me to play the cut, I actually have it. I don't know if you want me to do that, but. It feels like this is football's weird. And after all of this stuff, after how bad they looked yesterday, they're going to beat the Colts on Sunday. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Because football is weird. And for whatever reason, they're going to keep on grinding and keep on getting after it. And I don't know if they're going to win out every game, like I said, but I think they can still legitimately make the playoffs because of the way that the Chargers look and how bad they have been. I know you don't have the tiebreaker with Jacksonville, but they might. I think they've got a legit shot of squeaking into that 7 spot. I understand why you might not think it, though, but based on how the Chargers look and the remaining schedule for the Chiefs and being at home, where there's been a vast difference, they showed it yesterday on the broadcast, between Patrick Mahomes' play at home versus on the road, it leads me to still think that they'll still make the playoffs.
Yeah, so look, I totally get anybody that's going to call in here in about 10 minutes or text in right now that says they're done, they're missing the playoffs. I totally get that point, and I totally get the reasoning, and I think you have some good reasoning behind it. I'm just not there yet. Shockingly, Drew and I are in agreement. Now, I don't know if they're winning out. I won't go that far, but
I don't think so either at this rate.
I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think it's going to be a massive uphill climb and need help along the way to get there. I still think they will find a way to get in, but that requires a win on Sunday against the Colts. That requires them not dipping below 500. If this team is under 500 at any point the rest of the season, it is over.
Yeah.
So that's why Sunday is that spot. And I know, the odds of the game last night, the Chiefs were 4.5-point favorites and they lost. They're 3.5-point favorites against the Colts, and we'll see. So the odds do not mean anything. But I think they have one game wiggle room the rest of the way. I think they have to go 6-1 to ensure that they're in. 5-2, you're asking for some weird stuff to break your way with some tiebreakers. You need some other teams to probably have some significant injuries to cause some losses as well. You need a ton of help at that point in time. I don't think 10, because of the tie-breaking situation, 10 is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, and part of me, of course, is just joking, of course, because, me having somehow predicted correctly 5-5 is whatever. But I think this person phrased it well from the 6-2. If they continue to do and play the way that they have, they're not going to make it. I think we all can agree on that from whether it's the play calling, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, or defensively not being able to win any close games and get the stop when they need to, or get the score when they need to put the game away. Yeah, based on what we've seen the last few weeks, this team is not going to do enough to make the playoffs, given, as you said, the tiebreaker situation. Which is, it's obviously we'll get to it when it happens, if it does, but it's really bad.
This was, by the way, Chris Jones on sitting at 5-5.
Well, we won 5 games and we lost 5 games, so we're at 500. And this week we play a really, really good team, and I think we have the pieces to, win out. But it starts with one game. It starts with us, especially offensive line, defensive line. These next few games is going to be critical for us individually and also as a group for us to make sure we control the trenches.
That was Chris Jones after the game yesterday, and just the reality of where they sit as an organization. This is new territory for most of the guys on this roster. In fact, I would say all the guys on the roster, because they have not been. They've had games where we talked on Friday, Logan, that they've been in a spot entering a game like they just were, and they've always won those. They've always, they had the game against the Chargers back in 2023, I think it was. They had the game against the Raiders 3+ years ago that you referenced as well, and they always won those, and that's why this feels so different. Yesterday was a game in which in the past they always would win, which is why coming up on the other side, not only will we get to your text, you can call in if you want, 913-586-7965. We'll talk about phase one of, I think, a lot of NFL fans' dream just happened yesterday. We'll hear what Sean Payton had to say at halftime. He was spot on, unfortunately. That's next.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Vinny Pasquantino, and you're listening to Cody Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hellsberg gifts checked off the list. Now, time for wrapping. Earrings for mom. A gold bracelet to match the rings Danielle wears every day. And for Dad, a new watch, because we all know he needs one. All right, this is going to be a good one.
Our favorite things for your favorite people. Shop in store at hellsberg.com for up to 50% off.
Within the cities we call home, Busey Bank is more than a name. It's a commitment to your dreams. With Busey, trusted guidance is tailored to empower you every step of the way. Whether it's seamlessly managing your finances or planning for your future, Busey is dedicated to your financial success. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
The NFL season is rolling along, and you're starting to get a better feel on who's a contender and who's a pretender, and you can make all your predictions over at FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets, from yards to touchdowns to who you think is going to win. With FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. And tonight, FanDuel is giving all customers 30% profit boost token. That's right. You can get in on the action for 30% profit boost on this Monday night. So make FanDuel your go-to app for every snap. So whether you want to bet who's going to win the game, who's going to score a touchdown, or who's going to score the first touchdown, you can do all that with our friends over at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com. Use my promo code KFNZ to bet on the game. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable profit boot tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Get help with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit kansasgamblinghelp.com.
Score big savings with Hy-Vee and the Kansas City Chiefs. Big points mean even bigger savings. Just shop Hy-Vee the day after a game and earn a fuel saver discount equal to the Chiefs' score and based on the amount you spend. If the Chiefs score 42 points, you save 42 cents a gallon with any $42 purchase. The more we score, the more you save. Win or lose, everyone scores the day after a Chiefs game only at Hy-Vee. Offer good in-store and online. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Imagine this. It's Thanksgiving Day, and instead of juggling pots and pans, you're actually enjoying it. Hy-Vee's got your holiday covered with convenient pre-made meal packs for any size gathering. Fresh, ready-to-heat favorites like juicy turkey, honey glazed ham, or prime rib, plus all the classic sides, rolls, and desserts. And don't forget to swing by the wine and spirits department to make it a feast to remember. Pick up your meal the day before, heat it up, and serve it like you cooked all day. This Thanksgiving, let Hy-Vee do the cooking. You get the credit, only at Hy-Vee.
Hi, I'm Nick. And I'm Adam. We started Legacy Box so that family memories would be safe and could always be enjoyed together.
And starting now, we're offering listeners early access to our best deal of the year during our $9 tape sale.
1 million families and counting have trusted Legacy Box to convert their aging media because Legacy Box is safe, simple, and affordable.
From fading over time to risks like fire and water damage, your videotapes, film reels, and photos aren't protected unless they're on a digital format.
With the holidays approaching, don't wait. Simply fill your Legacy Box. We'll take care of the rest.
It's the most meaningful thing you can do this holiday season, and the perfect time during our best sale of the year.
Visit legacybox.com/value to get early access to our Black Friday sale and digitize your memories for only $9 a tape. Visit legacybox.com/value. legacybox.com/value.
You need parts? O'Reilly has parts. Get one free set of brake pads when you buy 2 brake rotors. Upgrade to Brake Best Select pads for just $10. Or upgrade to Brake Best Select Pro or Import Direct pads for just $20. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/play.
If you're 55 or older and into that whole saving money thing, T-Mobile has an exclusive phone and internet bundle just for you. Right now, get 2 unlimited phone lines plus 5G home internet for just $30 each per month with autopay, plus taxes and fees. And with 5G home internet, setup is easy with just 1 cord and no technician needed, which is great if you're also into that whole keeping it simple thing. Switch now and experience the best mobile network in the U.S. Visit your local store to start saving. T-Mobile, it's better over here. Based on analysis by Ookla of speed test intelligence data Q4 2024 to Q1 2025. Ookla trademarks used under license. Unlimited on our network. Customers on voice plan may notice speeds lower than other customers and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization. Video streams and SD on this plan. Home internet pricing after $20 and monthly bill credit plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
Chiefs coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door. RENNER forward and back.
Hey, it's almost Andy Reid. Who knew a Halloween costume would change my life and lead me to Renner Garage Door? Renner's KC's go-to team for service, repair, and replacement.
RENNER, RENNER.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
All right, just getting started here on a Monday. Of course, talking about the Chiefs' loss to drop them to 5-5. Division over. Playoffs, it's up for debate. We'll get back into that conversation, particularly a little bit later on in the show. As I told you, in the second segment of the show and the rest of the show, we'll be taking your calls and texts. We'll be keeping an eye on that, 913-586-7965. Anybody that wants to chime in, the phone lines will be wide open for you guys. You know we don't take a ton of calls on the show. Unfortunately, when we do take calls, it usually ends up being when it's either after a Super Bowl championship, it's either after winning a title, or it's when things are bleak. And when things seem like everything is falling apart, well, you can guess what that is today, Logan. I would say that's where we sit, 913-586-7965. So welcome your perspective. You guys disagree with us, by all means, call in. We'll take your calls. Here in about 30 minutes, I do want to talk more about the bigger picture blame as well, not just yesterday, but who gets the most blame for the team being in this current spot, whether it's Andy Reid, whether it's Brett Veach, Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it's somebody I haven't even mentioned. We'll get to that coming up in 30 minutes. So if for those that are wondering why we haven't talked about the roster construction and Brett Veach, I promise you we'll get there as well, because that is part of this conversation, why they sit at 5-5 as well. So that's coming up in just a bit. I want to point out something, though, yesterday that happened, and we talked about, I don't know if you were with me, Logan, on Thursday or Friday. Obviously, you and Bink were filling in. But we mentioned kind of the fact that the Broncos had a validation game, an opportunity yesterday, like going in to validate their success, to validate that it's real, and also to validate for other teams, frankly, and other NFL fans. They're like, hey, this is not the same Chiefs team, as in, chop it off the head of the king kind of thing. Part one was accomplished yesterday. Part two is them not making the playoffs, right, or being one and done, wild card exit, Mahomes not going to an AFC title game for the first time in his career. So part one is accomplished. The Broncos have shown that they run this division right this second. That's just the fact. I know we don't like to say it. Someone texted in and said they're working with a Broncos fan. Good luck to you today. Good luck to you today. He gets to talk his today, though. He gets to say whatever he wants today. Now, you can still obviously look at the last decade if you want, but the reality is the Broncos run the AFC West currently, and they're going to run it for 2025, and you hope that shifts in the future. But we mentioned kind of the phases of this, and both are now very real possibilities. One part has already happened, and I think there's a couple signs of it. The fourth quarter magic stuff is also not there. It's another sign that this is just not the same team that we have seen in the past. Patrick Mahomes, we have talked so much about coaching, but here's a number that I think tells you some of the issues. Now, coaching to me is part of this, but Patrick Mahomes is only completing 45%, just under 45% actually, of his passes when tied or trailing in the fourth quarter. I think it was Sam McDowell from the Star who put out that number, did the research on it. 44.7% of his passes when tied or trailing in the fourth. On one hand, that is all Patrick Mahomes, and you say, what is going on? I think it's a combination of things. He's pressing in the biggest moments. In the biggest moments, he is pressing, lack of trust in play calling, lack of trust still clearly at times maybe in his offensive line. And in the receiving game, other than Travis Kelce, I still wonder at times who does he trust? There's no excuse, though, in terms of the health. This football team, other than Isaiah Pacheco, this is still one of the healthiest teams in the National Football League.
I would argue the healthiest team in the National Football League.
They got Hollywood Brown. They have Tyquan Thornton. They have Healthy Worthy. I know he's playing with dislocated shoulder, but he's playing, so I consider him healthy, right? They've got Rashee Rice. They have the full arsenal of weapons. So that magic is just not there. It's the one-score game regression, sure, but Mahomes in the fourth quarter is not even completing 50% of his passes. That is dead last in the NFL, by the way, that completion percentage right now. And Sean Payton, while I didn't like the comment at the time, just as someone that obviously wanted the Chiefs to win yesterday, he was spot on, though, and this is how teams feel about the Chiefs, though, right now. This was Sean Payton with Tracy Wolfson right out of the half.
We've done a good job. Obviously, there's a certain way a game's going to unfold, and this is to our advantage, we think. Offensively, we'll pick it up here. We converted some third downs. We had good field position with the return game, but the team we're playing is more of a first-half team. I like the way our defense is playing. That's a key matchup.
The last sentence there. The team we're playing, I didn't like the comment at the time. I was like, I didn't like that, right? He was right.
Yep.
And he has, and it's correct. And that mindset is totally different than how any other coach has talked about the Chiefs during this 7+ year run. Heck, even if you want to go further back in just the entire divisional run, but I'm talking the Mahomes era, so 7+ plus years, Logan, where teams do not fear them the same way, nor should they.
Right.
The numbers I just gave you about Patrick Mahomes, the one-score game regression in a big way, the fact that Sean Payton, and he was correct, they're more of a first-half team than a second-half team. When would we ever have said that during this run of titles for Kansas City? This is all a sign of why it is so different than where they've ever been in the Mahomes era.
I mean, it was so telling yesterday watching the second half of that football game, specifically in the fourth quarter, when a play would end and the camera angles would pan over to the sidelines, and you looked at the Denver sideline and they would pan to Bo Nix, or they would pan over to Cortland Sutton or Sean Payton or whoever it was on that Broncos sideline. And for the first time in what's felt like a very long time, the one thing I didn't see on their faces was concern, was fear, was anxiety over the moment. And meanwhile, on the other side of the field, I didn't see that same level of confidence that I'm accustomed to seeing. You're exactly right. Mahomes is having to really push in the fourth quarter of these games, and it's not working. And you can't help but wonder why, because the weapons that he has at his disposal, I would argue, are more talented than any collective group of weapons he's ever had in his career.
So say that, and when you say that with I don't care whether we're talking about the Chiefs, we're talking about a college team or anything, if we all agree that this is depth-wise the best grouping, I think, at the wide receiver spot, and that they're healthy, and that they also had their starting left tackle back, and Josh Simmons, I thought, actually played pretty damn well. Now, Jawan Taylor had his same issues again. Then what would that be? Normally, you would say what? You would say it's a coaching problem.
Right.
Which is why I started the show in that direction. This does not absolve Patrick Mahomes from blame, because I think there's plenty. But when you said what you just said, and we're acknowledging the roster and where it's at, that sounds like a coaching problem to me.
I agree it is. I also think, and the one position group maybe that we haven't mentioned just yet that does deserve some blame is the wide receiver group. Namely, Rashee Rice had 3 drops yesterday, all 3 of them in massive spots that would have led to first downs, including that first offensive drive of the third quarter where Mahomes puts a perfect back shoulder throw on him that would have been a 30-plus yard gain and would have put him very much so in plus territory with an opportunity to score a touchdown, which would have been their first of the game. And it went clean through his hands. And you saw it over on the sideline late in that first half, and even after that drop in the third. He looked completely dejected, completely out of this football game. Xavier Worthy and Mahomes, their connection, the level of trust that those two have on those deep throws just doesn't seem to be there. Mahomes ended up connecting with Tyquan Thornton in that second half on that big 61-yard pass, but he had him on that first drive of the game too and overthrew him as well. So I just think that you're right. You mentioned the lack of trust that Mahomes may have in his offensive line. I think that extends itself maybe even more so to the wide receiver group that he has, because they are so talented. But it just doesn't seem like those receivers believe in Mahomes, or Mahomes doesn't believe in them quite to the level that we need to see in a Week 11 football game at this point in the year. It's just not there yet.
913-586-7965. Jay Southland Tow Service text line. Also the phone line. Let's get to Uriah, I believe is, Uriah from KC. You're on the show. What's going on?
Hey, man. Big fan of the show. But
Thanks.
I want to talk about whose fault it really is. We all know that it's Patrick Mahomes' fault, but also it falls on Andy Reid, I think. Ever since, and Matt Nagy, ever since Bieniemy left, I don't think that they've really had accountability, and everybody was angry at Bieniemy because he wasn't friendly or whatever like that. But I just don't think that they have accountability anymore.
Hey, thanks for the call. Look, I think the discipline is a serious problem for the team with the penalties again. Now, somehow the Broncos had more penalty yardage yesterday, but the first half in particular was sloppy across the board. For Kansas City, mistake-filled, they were 0-2 in the red zone, 7 penalties for 49 yards, the drop passes, bad clock management, I thought, on defense near the end of the first half. I think there's probably some debate on whether or not Andy Reid should have called a timeout or not. I would have called a timeout right before half when they let the Broncos, it was, 4th and 1, 4th and an inch or whatever, and there was a chance, I think, yes, if they call a timeout with a minute or so to go, that the Broncos go for it, and so you're like, well, then you would have been in danger of allowing the Broncos to extend the drive. Make the Broncos make a play, though. Make them, instead of letting the clock go all the way down, the aggressiveness and success of drives right before half and drives coming out of halftime have also just not been there this year the way they had been the year before. Now, the Eric Bieniemy thing, I knew we would eventually get a text or a call. We got one right out of the gate. I understand that is how a lot of people feel. I just firmly still, you guys know, disagree on the notion that this team and their undisciplined nature is because Eric Bieniemy is not on the staff. Eric Bieniemy is currently a running backs coach again for the Chicago Bears. He's not calling plays for the Bears. Ben Johnson is running the show there. Eric Bieniemy has been an OC in Washington since. Then he went to college for a cup of coffee, I think, with UCLA or whatever. Now, again, he's the running back coach. The Chiefs have also won a ring since he has left, right? I disagree that would be changing. That does not absolve Andy Reid. That does not absolve Matt Nagy and the coaching staff from criticism. We've been doing that the whole first hour of the show. But I firmly disagree as if Eric Bieniemy was here and it would all be good. I'm sorry. I could not disagree more.
I agree. I'm with you. I also disagree. The only thing that I could say maybe to the caller's defense is there was a much more evident willingness to run the football at times, I believe, when it was Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator versus Matt Nagy. Right, Nagy's a quarterback. He's going to want to throw the football. That's just inherently who he is a little bit, and that's always been who Andy Reid is. Bieniemy was a running back, and so maybe there was a greater willingness to try to involve the running game at times, right? But I think overall, we all are of the understanding Andy calls the plays, Andy creates the game plan, right? Yes, Matt Nagy is there as a strategic confidant, I guess you could say, and is sort of like the one-on-one maestro for Patrick Mahomes when it comes to the between drives sort of stuff on game day. But the offense goes as Andy Reid dictates it, not as Matt Nagy dictates it.
And that's the thing when I think tomorrow we're going to talk more about the idea, in the offseason of fresh faces and voices and all that. We can talk all we want about whether it's Eric Bieniemy, whether it's any other voice in the offense being here in the future, whatever. If your head coach, in this case it's Andy Reid, this applies for any organization, but if that person is also not willing to adapt, and you could have the smartest young up-and-coming future head coach in the league on your staff, if you're not listening to that person and having them have input in allowing them to potentially shift how you view certain things, then we're all wasting our time at the same, Like, it doesn't matter who your OC is at that point. If you are going to do what you are going to do, then I don't think there's much changing somebody that's had the success, frankly, that Andy Reid has had. And that's the tricky thing. This happens in the NFL and in college football as well. You have someone that has so much success, future Hall of Famer. In a lot of cases, why will they be willing to pivot towards the end of their career? And I think it's a problem. And yeah, I agree. Eric Bieniemy held people accountable. I'm just saying, if you think this team is 5-5, and a lot of the issues would be fixed if Bieniemy's here, I'm just saying I disagree with that. We can agree to disagree. I'm saying I think we put way too much weight on that being the difference. Are they undisciplined? 100%. I think they're an undisciplined football team, and that falls on Andy Reid. And we've talked about the play calling, which is an Andy Reid thing and Matt Nagy thing in terms of game plan during the week. I'm all about having a different voice in the room in the offseason. We talked about that last year as well. But if Andy Reid's not willing to listen to that, then I don't know if it matters as much as we all think it does. All right, continue to take your calls, 913-586-7965. Robert in Blue Springs, you're on with Cody and Gold.
Hey, guys, fellas. Hey, Gold, I want to say something that I agree with everything that you said up to this point in regards to, Bieniemy was here, the accountability, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing that I have noticed is this, and I'm sure you guys have too, in regards to the play calling, like, what was it, the 3rd and 2nd or 3rd and 1 where, Kareem has been nails on short yardage situations. And then they go back and throw the ball. And I'm like, my God, like, what are we thinking here? It's 1 yard. I understand, you're trying to mix it up and, X's and O's, and I get all that stuff. But the one thing I have seen and I've read about and I've heard from you guys too is the whole thing about being predictable. When that Bills fan came, or the Bills player came out and said that, and then now Sean Payton from his film study and seeing everything else, obviously from a coaching perspective, that this is just a first half team. So they're whatever the situation is, and I think everybody is right that is called in or is spoken of. there maybe does need to be some new voices in the room within the coaching staff, because to me, once you are quote unquote predictable within any professional sport, it's game over.
Sure.
Because anybody can see curveballs coming and all these other type of things. But one thing I will say this is Andy Reid will run the football, but he only ran the football when he had Brian Westbrook.
Yeah,
And that was granted, Brian Westbrook is Brian Westbrook, an elite running back during his time.
Yeah.
But see, he will run the ball when he has a player that can do everything that Brian Westbrook has said. And one thing Andy Reid has said in the past, the best running back he has ever coached with and that played for him was Brian Westbrook. So to me, he will do it, but he has to have the quote unquote that type of player. And you know what? The way they draft, and we all know this, they draft late and all these late rounds and all this stuff. And like everybody has said before, you know, the draft class from this past season for running backs was the time to do it. And we were just stayed still. And it is what it is now, guys. I will say this: I'm more inclined to lean on what Dusty said this morning. I'm more on the side. You know, I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've seen this stuff since the days of Schottenheimer. So to me, it's more of, you know what? If it's just not our year, it's just not our year. And I know people don't want to hear it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, there are fundamental things that need to change. And I'm with you, Gold. Like you said at the beginning, you got to run the dang ball. That's all I got, fellas. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Robert. 913-586-7965. A couple of things there. Look, I think the running back point is interesting. I'm not convinced that the acquisition that everybody was texting about 2 or 3 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I guess, the trade down, like if Breece Hall was the running back for this team yesterday, you're going to have I could be wrong, obviously, and we have no way to prove it. I'm not convinced Andy Reid runs the ball a single time more. I'm really not, guys. Like, you're right that Brian Westbrook was the best running back in Andy Reid's tenure, but I'm glad you brought up Philadelphia because, Robert, as you know as well as I do, this run game issue, lack of willing to run the ball, it goes back to his Philadelphia days, man. Like, it goes back to the days with Philadelphia. And I think for them the rest of the way, all right, they're obviously a 5-5 football team. If there is a chance for them to get hot, and you can laugh all you want, but if there is a chance for that to happen, it will require Andy Reid and the coaching staff to pivot and perhaps approach things differently than they want to approach things. And I think that's the stubbornness and ego part of it. And I think, look, we all have an ego to a certain extent. And I think if you're a coach and you've had the success that this entire coaching staff has had, it is, I'm sure, extremely difficult to pivot because you think, hey, we know what we're doing. We got this figured out. If they are not willing to, in this case, we're just talking running, but this goes to the defensive scheme, this goes to a lot, then I don't know if it matters all that much. Like, nobody's suggesting that Kareem Hunt, as we said earlier, is this all-pro running back or anywhere near Brian Westbrook, okay? But he was having success yesterday, and they still were unwilling to do it. And, you know, we spent a whole segment or two on the show Thursday or Friday talking about under center and why it matters. And the Chiefs were in the bottom 5, they still are, bottom 5 in the NFL in plays under center. Not necessarily runs, just being under center. And they're a group with bad teams. Now, maybe you say this is where they belong. I don't think they belong with some of these teams, but they're not playoff teams, right? They were the bottom 5 with the Atlanta Falcons. Who else was there? The Saints. There was 2 other non-playoff teams. And then the top 5 were all playoff teams. The Bills were there, the Patriots, the Rams, the Seahawks. And as I said then, the Seattle Seahawks go under center 70% of the time. The Chiefs do not need to go under center 70% of the time. But better than 7% or 11%, I think it was, heading into the game. Like that to me, you have to have some belief if you're a defense that the Chiefs are willing to run the ball under center, or hell, even on that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 when they're in shotgun. And no team actually believes they're willing to do it. Therefore, the passing game is also that much tougher.
Yeah, I'm sort of back and forth on the caller's points that he brought up because they did run the football with Brian Westbrook. They also ran the football with LaShawn McCoy when he first kind of burst onto the scene there in Philadelphia. And also, I mean, lest we forget, they ran the football pretty effectively early on in Andy Reid's tenure with Jamal Charles before the injuries ultimately undid him, and with Kareem Hunt. What I'm think is the greater point here about the unwillingness to run the football. I think the biggest factor is because Andy Reid has Patrick Mahomes. You know, it was a little bit easier to justify running the football a little bit more when you had Donovan McNabb at quarterback and Michael Vick, who is considered one of the best running quarterbacks of all time, and Alex Smith. But when you had Andy finally gets a quarterback the caliber of somebody like a Patrick Mahomes, you're right. I really do not believe, no matter who the running back was, that they would actually run the football. I don't. And to say, to point out guys like Brian Westbrook as somebody that ran the football, yeah, I mean, he had a few good. Brian Westbrook had 2 1,000-plus yard seasons in his entire career. 2 of them. And they both coincided with years where Donovan McNabb dealt with injury issues and didn't play all that much.
Yeah, the running back thing, like we could have someone on from Philadelphia. The hey, he doesn't run enough thing, this is, for a guy that's a Hall of Famer, this has been a story throughout his entire career.
Yeah, and that was in 2008.
It doesn't mean that they're not outlier seasons and we can all find 1 or 2, but this is a 20-plus year conversation. In Philadelphia, towards the end as well, it was the clock management stuff, and it was, hey, he doesn't want to run the football. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid paired up together. Of course, they've had a tremendous amount of success. Nobody is acting like that doesn't exist. But yesterday was an example of something that has happened numerous times throughout Andy Reid's career. It's just now it's in the biggest game of the regular season of Patrick Mahomes' career and Andy Reid's time in Kansas City, and that was the product that you got. All right, one quick phone call, and then we'll get to the 11 o'clock hour. We'll talk more about Brett Veach, because he's the only name that really hasn't been discussed yet, because that's where I do agree with the caller. You guys, if you listen to the show, and I appreciate those of you that are loyal to the show, if you listen in March and April, did not think they attacked the running back position strongly enough. That we agree on. 913-586-7965. All right, Donald is this Lee Summit? Yeah, you're on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I drummed into the head the same thing, okay? Patrick Mahomes does his biggest damage when he's outside of the pocket. He doesn't have to worry about people knocking the ball down, tipping the ball, getting it intercepted because of that, and that's happened more than once, okay? I don't know why Andy doesn't understand that the offensive line is not creating that good of a pocket right now, and he needs to get Patrick out of the pocket. I don't know why that's so hard to understand when he's so dangerous. Number one, he gets better throwing lanes, and number two, a lot of times he'll see that he can take off and run for 10 yards. You can't do that when you're getting your butt knocked off in the pocket.
Donald, thanks.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Donald. Appreciate it. 913-586-7965. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think Mahomes, when he's creative and, backyard mode at times can be a positive. Not with the current construction of how they've been playing this year. We mentioned this in games where he feels like he has to do everything and he's pressing. They've had 3 red zone turnovers this year from Patrick Mahomes. They've lost all 3 of those games.
Yep.
Now, the interception yesterday, he was out of the pocket, by the way. The interception against the Jags, of course, was a play where the Jags in film study, they got him, right? He was in the pocket. It was he was going to try to throw a quick slant, and the linebacker, what's his name, for the Jags, took it back to the house. The red zone turnovers, I think 2 of them actually have been when he's been scrambling out of the pocket. I mean, that just, I understand what the caller is saying, but I actually think there's been plenty of times going back to last season as well with the offensive line where there's times where he doesn't step up in the pocket enough actually and bails on the pocket too soon.
Right. I agree with a lot of what he's saying because I think generally speaking, for the majority of Mahomes' career, he has been at his best on those off-platform, outside the pocket throws. I don't think yesterday was the day to do it because of how talented that Broncos defense. I mean, there were several times where you saw Mahomes trying to get outside the pocket, but the lanes, the discipline on the edge rushing that the Broncos had made it really difficult. When Mahomes did want to get outside the pocket and do something with it, he was having to go 10, 15 yards beyond the line of, behind the line of scrimmage to get away from him because the Broncos weren't allowing him to do that. So I say, generally speaking, he is right on that. But yesterday, the Broncos did an incredible job of defending defending that and making it hard for Mahomes to be outside the pocket and make those off-platform throws and the magician sort of things that he is so known for.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to the 11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Who gets the most blame for you for the team being in this position? Not yesterday, but where the organization currently sits. Is it Andy Reid? Is it Brett Veach? Patrick Mahomes? Is there another name we're not thinking of? We'll continue to take your calls, discuss that. And how do we view the Broncos now? I know it's reality, though. They're atop the AFC West. Are they now a legit Super Bowl contender? That's next.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? It's Chris Jones. You're listening to Cody and Gold. Weekdays 10 to 2 on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
The FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets, from yards to touchdowns to who will win. With FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. Tonight, FanDuel is giving all customers a 30% profit boost token. That's right, you can get on the action with a 30% profit boost token this Monday night. So make FanDuel your go-to app for any snap. Whatever you want to bet, just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to bet on the game. That's FanDuel.com/Alex. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
More than a few of our patients have talked to me about their first time, but it's not the first time you're probably thinking about. It's the first time that erectile dysfunction ruined the moment. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And if you're over 50, it's likely that you've had that first time yourself. But the good news is that if you're like most men, that first time can be the last time that ED impacts your sex life. At Heartland Men's Health, we're experts in treating ED. We've treated tens of thousands of men using protocols with success rates well over 90%. And those treatments have, in most cases, made sex great again for both them and their partners. You could even find that you're performing like you haven't in years. So if ED has been affecting your intimacy, it's time to make the last time that happens the last time that happens. For just $99, you'll receive blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com.
Our biggest deal is back. The tires at cost sale at Telly Tire and Auto Centers. You pay what we pay. No gimmicks, no catch. All in-stock tires from Telly's huge inventory at cost. Plus mounting and balancing by certified tire technicians for only $27.95. The top brands, the lowest possible prices, with a 30-day ride guarantee and lifetime tire protection. There's never been a better time to replace your worn-out tires. These unbeatable savings won't last long. Hurry and reserve your tires today. Take care of your car. Take advantage of our sale. Take it to Telly. Additional charges apply for junk tire disposal and road hazard warranty.
Chiefs checking for Community America is for real fans. Because real fans know tap to pay is the ultimate play. Zero fees mean you win with ease. And big savings at the team store means you can score more. And who doesn't love scoring more? Community America is investing in helping Chiefs fans step up their financial game. Get started today at CommunityAmerica.com. Member owned, open to all. Community America Credit Union, invested in you.
This is Dana Hughes. In Kansas City football, we honor tradition, but we always look forward to what's next. That's why I'm all in for Flight by Yuengling. It's brewed by the oldest brewery in America, but built for today. 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, crisp, clean, and full of flavor, just the way a light beer should be. It's got the legacy and the stats to back it up. Flight by Yuengling, the next generation of light beer and the official beer of Dana Hughes. B.G. Yuengling and Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's Brian Baldwin here. Makita knows that pros never settle. Get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. When you shop Makita at the Home Depot, these tools don't just meet expectations, they redefine them. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly designed to deliver precision job after job. When the job calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best, available at the Home Depot. How pros get more done.
Are you tired of online threats? Then get an antivirus. It's the only online protection you will ever need.
Disclaimer, an antivirus is just half protection online. It will not protect you from snoopers or encrypt your online traffic. So this Black Friday, get better online protection with NordVPN. NordVPN will encrypt your traffic, protect you from malware and phishing, and stop annoying ads. Get the NordVPN Black Friday deal with 73% off and enjoy 3 extra months.
Well, the last couple months, you guys know I've been driving a Ford F-150 and right now the Ford Expedition, thanks to Shawnee Mission Ford. If you're looking for a new ride, Shawnee Mission Ford is the place to be. And right now is a great time because the year-end sales event starts now at Shawnee Mission Ford. So you can take advantage of 0% on those new 25 Escapes, Explorers, F-150s, Transit vans, Super Duty trucks, regular and super, with 90 days till your first payment and 90 days of complimentary Blue Cruise. You guys know how much I love the Blue Cruise feature, that hands-free driving. And Shawnee Mission Ford still offers those large discounts and the top trade-in value along with 0%. And coming up in a few weeks, it's going to be Black Friday through Cyber Monday. They've got their Shawnee Mission Ford Blue event where $500 additional to the customer with any vehicle purchase. You can decide how to use it. Larger discounts, gift card, cash back for the holidays, you name it. And the customer still gets the 0% on top of everything else. So stop in for a test drive at Shawnee Mission Ford.
You need parts? O'Reilly has parts. Get one free set of brake pads when you buy 2 brake rotors. Upgrade to Brake Best Select pads for just $10. Or upgrade to Brake Best Select Pro or Import Direct pads for just $20. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/play.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at TheFan965 for behind-the-scenes videos like MVP Monday, Chiefs Take Tuesday, and Best Bets. This is your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ, FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
All right, 11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Drew Nixon producing the show. Logan Weber, he is in for Cody today. Bink will be in tomorrow. Cody's back on Wednesday. Reminder, 1 hour from now, Andy Reid will speak exclusively here on 96.5 The Fan. Do not miss that, as each and every Monday he speaks thanks to Arvest Bank. So that's coming up in just a bit. We obviously are talking through not only just yesterday what went wrong, but this obviously is much bigger than just yesterday. It has ramifications for this season, sure, and whether or not this team makes the playoffs or not. And we'll get back into that, I promise, a little bit later on in the show. And we're taking your text, 913-586-7965. That always is open. Phones as well. We don't take calls, but on a day like today, we definitely will, and we appreciate those of you who have called in already. We'll go ahead and open the phone lines back up for this conversation as well, 913-586-7965, because not just yesterday. I'm talking bigger picture, not who gets the blame yesterday, but who gets the blame for just the team, the organization being in the spot where they're a 500 football team in danger of not making the postseason, and you've got clearly an offense that is once again broken. You've got a defense that throughout this season, let alone yesterday, but throughout this season has struggled to get after the quarterback. So who gets the most blame for this position that they are in? Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Patrick Mahomes? Is there somebody else I'm not mentioning? Because, look, the simple answer is all of them, clearly, right? There is not just one person. That's not how any of these organizations work. It is never one person for why a organization sits in the spot that they're in. But the name we have not really discussed much yet today, we're just getting started, is Brett Veach in part of this equation too. Because if we were to do the pie chart, at least if I were to do the pie chart, Logan, on most blame for why they are where they are, the biggest piece of the pie is still Andy Reid for me. It is still his show. Brett Veach is his guy. I know Andy will deflect whenever there's personnel decisions and say, I don't know, Brett's handling that. Nothing is still happening without Andy Reid also either approving it or at the very least being heavily involved in those conversations, 100%. Right? I think we all recognize that. So Andy Reid still, for this team being in the spot that they are in, he still, of course, shoulders the biggest chunk of the pie for me. Brett Veach is a much bigger chunk than I think a lot of people want to mention, because when we talk about the run game and others, I thought they should have invested more heavily in the running back position in the offseason. When they signed Kareem Hunt, right, we said, does that mean they're not going to spend a fairly high draft pick on a running back? I hope not. Well, they didn't. They didn't draft one until the 7th round. It's Brashard Smith, who they really won't utilize all that much. Yesterday, it was even less production, less usage than the couple weeks before. Elijah Mitchell was an offseason signing. He was activated for the first time in 2025 yesterday. Christian Fulton was only active for the third time of the season. They signed him to a 2-year, $20 million contract. So Brett Veach is a huge chunk. I guess we did percentages for all of that. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but I'll go ahead, Logan, and say Andy Reid probably gets about 55% or so of the pie, and then I split it up between Veach and Mahomes. And then I guess if we really want to go further, I'm not really including assistant coaches on this chart. Maybe you guys want to.
Yeah, I certainly lean towards Brett Veach getting a little bit more of the blame than maybe you do. I'm with you 100%. I feel like we're sitting here with 6 broken bones and trying to decide which one is hurting us the most. They're all to blame, but I lean a little bit more towards Brett Veach only because, and this is, again, we are beginning to see the downside of a dynasty come to fruition in front of us. Because what happens? Well, we saw it with the Patriots. We've seen it with NFL teams in the past. We've seen it with all sports in the past, where you put together this incredible collection of talent and you go on to have tremendous success. Well, eventually you're going to have to pay the piper. And you've literally had to pay the piper. You've had to give Patrick Mahomes the massive contract and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce. And then beyond that, you've had to try to retain other guys like Creed Humphrey. You gave Trey Smith the largest contract for a guard in NFL history. And then you've had a few more misses, I would say, along the way than maybe you're accustomed to. And give Brett Veach all the credit in the world for what he does late in drafts, right? Finding guys like L'Jarius Sneed a few years ago, and he went on to have the success he did in Kansas City. And what they've got right now with somebody like a Jalen Watson and Leo Chenal, he's great at that. But in recent years, there has been a much more concerning miss rate with the higher draft picks. Going out and drafting Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the first round, who I know is on the PUP list right now because of the injury, season ending, whatever. But he hasn't done much of anything.
No, he's a bust
in 3 years,
he's
right?
A bust.
You drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. Meanwhile, Jonathan Taylor was 5 picks later in the second round. Complete whiff early in draft picks. When you have your highest chance of success, your highest hit rate overall, he's missing on those guys. And then a real unwillingness to be super aggressive in free agency. And when you are aggressive, those haven't really worked out. You gave Jawan Taylor crazy money to be nothing more than, at best, an average right tackle with serious penalty issues. You went out and you gave Christian Fulton a ton of money to do nothing until yesterday, where he plays 9 snaps. He gives up a ton of catches. Meanwhile, Noah Williams got 0 snaps in that football game. Not really understanding. And I get the wide receiver has been a major point of emphasis for the Chiefs in the last few years, and it should have been because the wide receivers were a glaring problem. But you knew this past offseason, running back and defensive line was going to be a problem. And from the draft to the deadline, they did little to nothing in addressing that. Yeah, you got Omar Norman-Lott in the second round. He goes down with the injury. It happens. You drafted Gelati, but you needed more defensive line help than just that. And what did you do? Trade for Derek Nottie, who you let walk, and then sign Mike Pennell before the deadline, who you also let walk.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with the misses that have happened, and I think there's a huge chunk of the pie of blame for Brett Veach, but I still think with some of what happened this offseason, to me, it's when I say Andy Reid, I'm also including Spags and the entire coaching staff in there as well. When last year they go and they acquire a Josh Uche, the coaching staff not willing to play him. True. When they move on from Derek Nottie, was that them trying to be cheap and save the cap, or was that the coaches thought they could get past and didn't need him, and then they end up having to give up assets to bring him back. What I'm saying is, like, sometimes those moves, Brett Veach is the GM, okay? But Andy Reid, to me, these moves do not happen without him being involved, as I said, heavily involved, if not signing off on it as well. And so that's why I think he gets the bigger chunk, not to mention, as we already spent a huge chunk of the show talking about the play calling aspect of it and not adapting and being loyal to a fault. And it's tough. Look, if I was in their shoes and I've won 3 rings with this group of DC and a couple of them with Matt Nagy as well, and then I got Andy Heck, who's my offensive line coach, been with me, and I've got Joe Colin, and keep going down the list of these guys, it's hard to be willing to move on. It took him a while to remember, obviously, ultimately move on from Bob Sutton, ultimately move on from Eric Bieniemy. It was a mutual parting of ways at that point in time. He is very, very loyal, and I think it's tough to shift, and that is also how you get in a spot like this. By no means am I saying that Steve Spagnuolo should not be the defensive coordinator. That's not what I'm arguing. My point is just that when we're saying that they haven't adapted, when it's become stagnant, when it's become predictable, some of that is because of your coaching staff not willing to adapt, and so therefore that falls on Andy Reid for me. The only person that's quote unquote checking Andy Reid or could is Clark Hunt.
Right.
I'm sorry. That is it. The only way, like, if you were convinced that, and even if Brett Veach thought that Andy Reid needs to move on from a certain position coach or Dave Tobe in the offseason, I'm just throwing out names. The only person that's going to quote unquote force Andy to do that and can is Andy Reid himself or Clark Hunt.
Yep.
I'm sorry. That's just the reality of the setup, and it has obviously worked very, very good, very, very well for a long time. But that is the reality of the setup, and that's why Andy Reid will always get a bigger chunk of the pie. Patrick Mahomes, of course, is part of the reason to blame here. I still think some of the spots he has been put in has been because of coaching, but he has been pressing far too much in the biggest moments, wanting to make that play that he got away with making maybe in the past and realizing it's just not there this year. And that's exactly what happened yesterday, by the way. Just take the 3 points. You don't have to get a touchdown on that play. And that is a switch that he seemingly can't turn off right now. And that's a big problem that they have as well.
I think that you brought up a good point in that this group being together as long as it has been the reason for the success, right? But that's a fine line that you walk, because it can also be your doom. And when you go to as many Super Bowls as this Chiefs team has had, 5 and 7 years when they've won 3 and 5, when you do the things that this team has done, whether you want to admit it or not, you run the risk of complacency becoming a major factor, right? When you've been as good as you've been, you get comfortable, and comfortability can lead to complacency. And I look at this team, and it was so evident in that fourth quarter yesterday, and it has been for quite some time in these one-score games this year, where that sort of killer mentality, right? What did Andy Reid say? When things are grim, be the Grim Reaper. Right. That's not happening anymore. They just, I think, assume that it's going to happen because it has for so long, that they don't seem to have that do or die desire any longer. And maybe that is because this coaching staff and this front office and these players have been together as long as they have. And again, I'm with you. I'm not advocating for anybody to get fired. That would be somewhat foolish, because that's what has made this team so good for so long, is that they've all been together as long as they have. But at a certain point, you have to self-reflect and think about, okay, what are the motivating factors in why this is happening, and why aren't you being as motivated as you once were?
913-586-7965. We'll continue to read some of your texts I want to get to. Also, the phone lines are open here as the Chiefs fall to 5-5. We're trying to right now discuss where things are at with the organization and how they got to this particular spot. Dylan in Butler joins us here on Cody and Gold. Thanks for holding.
Hey, guys. Wanted your opinion. I think it's a lot to do with the coaching. Just simply, your defense isn't getting turnovers anymore. Anytime we have a decent return on special teams, it seems like Cochran in particular is always the one caught holding. Offense, any big play we get just always comes back with a penalty. Your defense, it seems like in big down moments that you need it, it's always, pass interference or illegal hands to the face or, what have you. It's the penalties is what's killing us, I feel like. And, if the defense would help out, force some turnovers, special teams to get some returns, maybe give the offense, where they're not having to go 70, 80 yards every time, it might help out. But I'll listen on the other side and let you guys kind of debate it.
Thank you, Dylan. 913-586-7965.
Yeah, I agree with some of what he's saying. The one thing that I refuse to do is put much of the blame for the way this season has started on the defense. Because I think of the 3 units that the Chiefs have put on the football field the first 10 weeks or 10 games of this season, they have been the best of the 3. The special teams has far and away been the worst unit, and I would put the Chiefs offense behind the defense because I think the expectation was higher, and they haven't even come close to living up to it just yet. The one thing that I have always been critical of with Steve Spagnuolo's defenses, always, as good as they have been and as good a defensive coordinator as Spags is, they generally do not generate turnovers. It's been a long-running concern with the Chiefs' defense, and this year hasn't been any different, especially over the last month and a half, I would say. He's exactly right. What has killed, what's been the Chiefs' undoing is them turning the ball over, and there hasn't seemed to been a reciprocation from the Chiefs' defense, right? They blitz aggressively, but they don't necessarily defend aggressively in the secondary, right? Rush 5, rush 6, send pressure off the edge, drop back in coverage, play sort of like a Tampa 2, keep everything in front, and that can work really, really well, that bend, don't break sort of philosophy. But eventually, you've got to make plays to give your offense a short field. And the Broncos did an incredible job of that yesterday on their side of the football, and the Chiefs haven't. And that has been a problem for quite some time. I mean, Trent McDuffie is as good of a corner as you're going to find in the National Football League. But the one knock against him is the same knock as the entire secondary. They don't generate interceptions. They don't get takeaways to give the football back to the offense an extra amount of times per game.
913-586-7965. A few people texting about Chris Jones. What's sad about yesterday in general for the entire season, I agree with you. Yesterday was not the game to be critical of Chris Jones, actually. That was probably Chris Jones' best game of the season, guys.
I'd say
I know nobody wants to hear that today, the day after a loss. The same reason why today we're not talking about Travis Kelce breaking a franchise record, because nobody wants to hear that today, and I get it. So we'll discuss that tomorrow maybe. But today's not the day to be critical of Chris Jones. Now, if we're talking bigger picture, it's been a bad year for him. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. We've all been criticizing him. Mm-hmm. But yesterday was not that. Like, if you're pointing to yesterday, I disagree. I thought Chris Jones actually put together his best effort of the entire season.
So I have a question for you real quick. I did look it up, Logan. They're 4th in the NFL, the Chiefs defense is in points allowed per game. So they're there, but also turnovers. They are 24th in the NFL in turnovers per game. They allow, which is worse than Tennessee, Carolina, Miami. So in terms of the forcing turnovers thing, it obviously is weird to see a defense that's as good as they are not force turnovers. But the question I have is, it feels like to me, I think Brett Veach deserves actually maybe 5 to 10% of the blame, actually, if we're splitting a pie chart out, because somebody texted in earlier, he hasn't addressed defensive line. He drafted 2 of the top 3 draft picks he had were defensive line. And he brought, I know it's Derek Nottie, but he addressed spots.
Yeah, but he's in the business of getting it right as well.
I know, I understand that, but I think also part of that, isn't that also coaching staff, where they had not a single blessed person could rush the passer. And Ashton Gelati, Nate's come on the show and said, hey, look to Ashton Gelati. Ashton Gelati's barely even getting on the field. So I think to that standpoint, Brett is giving you the talent. It's utilizing it, I think, as well. Like, where, yes, he has not hit on some of those draft picks, but also I think when you're as down as the defensive line is seen from a pressure standpoint, you might just throw the rookie out there and say, hey, dude, you're starting. Get after it, man, and just let him go. And I think that goes back to the loyalty thing that you guys mentioned as well, where Spags is loyal to a guy and doesn't want to move on from it, or Andy's loyal to a guy and doesn't want to move off of it, even though maybe the more talented player is kind of sitting right in front of them, even though they are a rookie or might not, quote-unquote, understand the defense as much.
This is why the coaches and Andy Reid, the bigger piece of the pie is absolutely.
I agree,
and that's why, if you've been listening, off and on throughout the show, or if you've been listening to more since the beginning of the show, most of my attention today has been about coaching Doesn't mean it's not about Veach or Mahomes or whatever, but whether it was yesterday, right now we're talking season-long, bigger picture organizational problems. I still put way more of it on the coaching staff. But yeah, Brett Veach, I don't know, again, 5 or 10%, we're splitting hairs. I don't know, Drew, how I would break it down. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more than that. I would
just
say
think
for
it's
Brett
little,
Veach,
if anything.
But he's part of the chart. He's certainly not the biggest part of the chart, but they have put themselves in a spot, with the roster construction. Well, I actually think this roster, in some ways, you could argue is better than a year ago. That's the craziest thing. I know it sounds asinine when this team is 5-5 and they won 15 games a year ago. That gets in the whole one-score game thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think the roster is good enough where they should be far better than a 5-5 football team. But this is the whole regression. So last year, they probably were not a 15-2 team, if that makes sense. Like roster-wise, in the way they probably were not as good, dominant as you would think a 15-2 team were. But they were. This year, if they finish, let's say they missed the playoffs, they finish at 9-8. I don't think this roster, any of us would say, is a roster that has any business being 9-8. But that's what they would be, right? So we're going to get back into this. We'll continue to take your calls later on in the show, 913-586-7965. Chiefs Red Half Hour is 10 minutes away. I want to talk about Bo Nix, who, yes, outplayed Patrick Mahomes yesterday. But first, let's get to the trash of the day.
Trash of the day.
All right. Briefly pivot from football. Briefly. Let's go to Greece. You guys, I gave you an option between 2 or 3. You guys said go with this one. I think this one's a little dark. Maybe it's fitting today. I don't know. A 22-year-old man in Greece swallowed an entire burger without chewing it as a joke while eating with friends. The problem is he collapsed at a restaurant on Thursday after the burger blocked his airways. His friends thought he was joking at first, then soon started hitting his back against the column trying to get the burger out. He stopped breathing for 2 minutes before emergency services arrived. He's currently in critical condition. I told you this is dark. This is really dark. You guys wanted to hear this one, all because he was swallowing an entire burger.
Yeah, because
without chewing.
No, the reason why I said go ahead and do, obviously it's a bad situation, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But this screams of, hey man, you want me to try something right now? Guess what I can do? I'm going to swallow this burger entirely all by itself, and I'm not going to chew anything. It sounds like a game gone wrong, and that's why it falls into this trash of the day category that I feel like is for today.
Yeah, him being a 22-year-old, definitely, it's right in line there, right? Like college age, high school age kids who do not think about their own health and safety in certain occasions. Like, who in their right mind, like, I'm not that much older than these guys, but I mean, at 27, 28 years old, there's no chance I'm even considering trying to swallow an entire burger whole. Just shows you that, with age comes wisdom, and at 22 years old, you got to find a little bit more wisdom than that rather than trying to eat a whole cheeseburger by yourself.
Drew, do you think you could do that?
No, nor would I try. No, hold on. How big, to fit an entire burger, how big does your mouth have to be to fit the entire burger?
Or how small does the burger have to be? If this was like a cheeseburger slider, if this is a quarter-pound cheeseburger, I don't know what. Apparently, too big.
Do we know if it was a Whopper?
Was the answer.
Too big?
I don't know what kind of... does Burger King exist in Greece? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it does, technically, in Greece.
I'm sure.
But I'm talking about the country, not Greece itself. That was horrendous.
It just feels like definitely a college thing. Like, yo, man, you think I can do this? And then you try it out, and it doesn't go as planned.
Chew your food. That's the lesson today.
Chew your food.
That's the lesson. Yeah. I'm glad we got to that. It
Don't play with
was either that or what was the other one, Drew? The AI. We did the AI bot last week.
Would have been a good follow-up.
AI bots are now having children. Yeah. Let's think about that for a second. That's a real sentence. AI bots are having children.
I will say this. I am not ever going to do this, nor do I encourage it, but I would be very interested to see what this dynamic is like. What is it like to be in the presence of an AI family, essentially? Like, what does that even look like?
How do you parent an AI child?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Who's the AI child bringing home? Who's the AI child going to prom with? How do you have the talk with an AI child? These are the questions that need answers.
How do you have the talk? That's a... Little Johnny?
That's the trash of the day. Up next.
What are the kids' names? No way it's Johnny.
Chiefs Red Half Hour. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, his level of play right now, getting outplayed by Bo Nix, and we'll get back into the running backs. And what happened yesterday makes me feel even stronger about one point we made in the offseason.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Bobby Witt Jr., and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey friends, it's noisy out there with information coming at us all day, every day. It's hard to know what to trust, and the world of wealth management is no exception. That's why UMB Private Wealth Management helps you tune out the noise and tune into what matters most. They'll create a financial plan based on your unique goals, so it's your voice that comes through loud and clear. Get financial clarity. Go to umb.com/privatewealth to schedule an appointment. That's umb.com/privatewealth.
The NFL season is rolling along, and you're starting to get a better feel on who's a contender and who's a pretender, and you can make all your predictions over at FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets, from yards to touchdowns to who you think is going to win. With FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. And tonight, FanDuel is giving all customers 30% profit boost token. That's right. You can get in on the action for 30% profit boost on this Monday night. So make FanDuel your go-to app for every snap. So whether you want to bet who's going to win the game, who's going to score a touchdown, or who's going to score the first touchdown, you can do all that with our friends over at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com. Use my promo code KFNZ to bet on the game. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement. Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Get out with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit kansasgamblinghelp.com.
We've all had those kind of jobs. Maybe you're driving a delivery truck, military, handling packages, just stuff that's going to have to be outside come wintertime. All of those things. But instead, you could be training for a new cybersecurity career over at Centric.
Yeah, you can do it side by side, too. That's what's important to note, as we always mention with this program. If you're someone that's like, well, I can't just stop what I'm doing.
Great.
I can't cut off the income. No, you can do in-person classes, online classes as well. Continue your current career so you can build for your future. And as you listed off these different backgrounds, it doesn't matter what field you're in now. Your future is what matters, and cybersecurity is the future.
They train you to do it. They train you in as little as 4 months that way, and then help you land a job in that career. Centric can help it, make it yours. Go to Centric.com and book a call with our buddy, Russ Mondry.
Hey, Chiefs fans, Crown Royal is the official whiskey of the Kansas City Chiefs. And this season, it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/royal rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Also that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Dane Hughes here. I've seen a lot of stat lines in my playing days, but these numbers, they caught my attention. Flight by Yingling, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, and all the crisp, refreshing flavor you want in a light beer. It's brewed by the oldest brewery in America, so you know it's got some serious history behind it. If you're into stats and taste, you're gonna love this beer. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer and the official beer of Dane Hughes. DG Yingling & Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Hellsberg gifts checked off the list. Now, time for wrapping. Earrings for mom. A gold bracelet to match the rings Danielle wears every day. And for dad, a new watch, because we all know he needs one. All right, this is going to be a good one.
Our favorite things for your favorite people. Shop in store at Hellsberg.com for up to 50% off.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we.
With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
You could think you found your dream home online, but here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Brought to you by Gomers. 5 locations in the KC Metro or online at gomers.com.
It's holiday cheers time, and Gomer's Fine Wines and Liquors is here for it. With 5 locations, a wide selection, great prices, and friendly service. Gomer's Fine Wines and Liquors, family owned and KC proud since 1969.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Chiefs Red Half Hour is brought to you by All Weather Decks, Kansas City's most respected deck builder. Coming up in 25 minutes, we're expecting to hear from Andy Reid exclusively here on 96.5 The Fan. Of course, it'll be the first time he will speak post-loss while back in Kansas City. He spoke a little bit after the game yesterday. We'll see if there's any more insight there. As you guys know, sometimes on these press conferences, they're somewhat limited in what we get, but we'll hear from Andy. We'll obviously bring you all of that right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan. I do want to talk about the running back conversation some more here in about 8 minutes or so. In particular, of course, how they handled the final 2 drives, but just the running back group, how the organization has handled that position, how you think they should handle it, and does that change any of your feelings about the team? But Patrick Mahomes got outplayed by Bo Nix yesterday, and admittedly, I don't think that's something that any of us ever really considered happening. Like, you can be down on how Mahomes has played, and you can say he's not been playing at the same level the last year or so, but how many of you actually thought Patrick Mahomes was getting outplayed by Bo Nix? But that's the reality of what happened yesterday. And I can just box score it if you want as well. I want to talk more in depth, but box score-wise, Mahomes, 45 attempts yesterday, 29 of 45, 276, a touchdown, the key pick in the end zone. Bo Nix, 24 37, 295. No touchdowns, but no mistakes, no interceptions in the game. He got outplayed. Bo Nix, in the biggest moment, stepped up and made a crucial throw. We can talk all we want about Steve Spagnuolo and on 3rd and 15 or whatever, how they were playing defense, but Bo Nix made the throw to, I think it was Cortland Sutton, right?
Yeah.
On the particular throw that I'm talking about. He stepped up, and he's someone that has been heavily criticized for a while. And to his credit, he came up and made a huge play. Now, I still don't, do I think Bo Nix is, a top 10 quarterback in the league? No, absolutely not. But in this particular game, he did enough. And what he showed yesterday is why, and we're going to talk more about the contender stuff, is why the Broncos, I do have to now put them in the Super Bowl conversation, Super Bowl contender. Would I put my hard-earned money on them to win it? No. But they're a contender. How can they not be? They have a defense that is Super Bowl caliber, plain and simple. I think we all understand that. We kind of knew that before the game. Now even more so after what they just did to Kansas City yesterday. And their quarterback is capable in the biggest moments, the one-score game stuff that the Chiefs had on their side. Boy, oh boy, do the Broncos have that going for them this year.
No question. I mean, what Bo Nix did a better job of yesterday than Patrick Mahomes did was take advantage of what was given to him. You know, I watched, we saw it, especially that play down on the goal line where you had 3 points on the board. Mahomes tries to throw something up that ends up in an interception. Mind you, lest we forget, that was the second interception he had thrown on that drive. He threw that air-mailed throw to Travis Kelce on the sort of that backyard football that seemed like they were just on different wavelengths, and it gets returned for a touchdown, but you had the illegal touching,
that's what you're saying.
which
he threw one pick. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, he threw the pick six that got called back by the illegal touching, which I will add seemed a little bit ticky-tack from my view, but that was the officiating in yesterday's game. It just felt like when Bo Nix had pressure in his face or when nothing was open, he took the easy throw and just lived to play another down. Lived to get to that second down. Lived to get to a third down. Mahomes didn't do that. And when those chances popped up for the big-time throws, you know, those deep balls down the field, Bo Nix was more accurate on those throws. He hit Troy Franklin on that 35-yard pass. He hit Pat Bryant for 48. That big 3rd and 15 conversion for 21 yards to Cortland Sutton. Mahomes had the one for 61 yards to Tyquan Thornton. Everything else was lackluster when it came to those deep balls, those big plays of 20-plus yards. Bo Nix was better there, and he was better when he just took the check down and lived to play for second or third down.
913-586-7965. Someone said, why are we putting this on Mahomes? Not on the fact that we threw the ball 50 times, including third and shorts. I understand you're just tuning into the show. We're going to get back into the run game stuff. In fact, I've spent probably too much time talking about my thoughts on the coaching staff. No, nobody is suggesting that this was all on Mahomes yesterday. But part of the equation, as we talk through it for all 4 hours today, is how Patrick Mahomes played and how Bo Nix played and who outplayed who. And it was not who anybody would have guessed going into the game. I mean, that is just the reality. Now, I disagree from the 913. Someone says, I mean, Knicks went against the worst D-line and overall defense. I think Pat would have had success against our defense. Look, the Broncos' defense is awesome. Awesome. Nick Bonito, Zach, awesome. There was no Pat Surtain back there. But we don't have to, make up facts just because we're all pissed off today.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' defense is not the worst defense in football. It's not the worst overall defense. Stop. As much as I am not happy, and we're all in a bad mood probably today to a certain extent. And Steve Spagnuolo, I don't know what happened on a couple third downs. We don't need to make up facts, though, and act like they're now the worst defense in football. Stop. Come on now. We can be smarter than that.
I mean, again, I feel like hindsight is a little bit 2020 here. You know, I got somebody in the text line saying that Mahomes threw that ball because he saw the flag. It didn't look that way live. It didn't appear that way on the replay. And yeah, Mahomes
it all comes
pointed.
Back, he's pressing though. That's the bigger theme of the whole thing. Is like he has pressed in these big moments. Feels like when the offense is stagnant. Remember, at that point in time, the offense had how many points on the board when he threw that interception?
At that,
was that 6 or were they at the 13?
I think they were at 13.
Okay,
when
so
that happened.
they're at 13 points, which is obviously not up to his standard, their standard in their mind, right? Even against Buffalo, they scored 21. But the point is, I think late in games, if the offense has been sluggish, 3 and outs, if he knows that they're not having fun, we know when the offense was rolling, it was against Detroit, it was against the Raiders, yes, it was against the Commanders, yes. But how many times did Patrick Mahomes tell Carrington, how many times did Creed Humphrey say to the locker room, or when he came on this show, actually, that what's the difference? Well, we're having fun out there. Well, when they're not having fun, it looks like that, but then Patrick Mahomes presses when he's not having fun, and that leads to an interception in that case that takes 3 points off the board. Who knows how the rest of the game goes? Am I saying that they still didn't have opportunities to win? Yeah, I mean, look, penalties all over the place. Yeah, we're going to get into the running stuff. They didn't run the ball late, refused to. That's on coaching. Patrick Mahomes made poor decisions. This is how you lose games. This is how you're 5-5. Yep. It is never one thing. never, like, as much as how easy it is to be critical on any sport on one player or one coach, it is never just one thing. When your team has Super Bowl aspirations and expectations, and you're now 5-5, when you have won a division for 9 years in a row, the standard is different. Like, someone earlier had a text that thought it was funny. They were like, "Hey, the Steelers are, have for years under Mike Tomlin have been in this exact same spot, and nobody freaks out." Well, there's people in Pittsburgh, I can promise you, that are not happy still. But I would also say the standard is different here. The Chiefs are in the middle of a dynasty run. Maybe it's over. We're going to find out. And the standard is not just being 500 and scraping by. Now I think we would all, what we would all give just for them to make the playoffs at this point. There's a few out there that want them to just fall apart and get a high draft pick. I'm not there at all. I think that's a terrible way to approach the prime of Patrick Mahomes' career. So I won't be on board with that.
Isn't this something, and it's weird because we heard all of this stuff in the offseason. Hey, watch out for this offense. I mean, Hollywood was talking about it. Rasheed was talking about it. Xavier was talking about it. Watch out for this offense. We got the deep ball and all of these things. But it's weird. Collectively, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Everybody, I think, agrees that, like you mentioned last segment, the team is more talented this year maybe than it was last year. But it feels like every game is still a grind, similar to how really the last 2 years have gone. And it's hard to make sense of it, just where, yes, Mahomes got outplayed by Bo Nix, but it feels like Patrick almost has to be perfect in a way for them to be able to win a game, where he's got to be locked in, no turnovers and everything. It feels like every game has no margin for error. Otherwise, you end up losing in these close games.
I don't disagree, but I would also argue, Mahomes has had 3 red zone turnovers this year. They've lost all 3 games. I don't care who the quarterback is. Typically, you're right, in the past, the Chiefs could overcome stuff like that. But I would say 95% of teams in the NFL, if I tell you, like even Drake May, who's playing awesome, is the MVP favorite along with Matthew Stafford. If Drake May, and I don't know who they play this coming Sunday, but whoever, right?
The Bengals, actually.
Well, maybe it's a bad example then because they're playing the Bengals. I was going to say, if Drake May has a red zone turnover or 2, their chances of winning said football game go down drastically.
Yeah.
I don't think, yes, if the argument is that in the past, Mahomes could do that and they would still win, 2 years ago, maybe. But most quarterbacks, if you do what Patrick Mahomes just did yesterday, there's a good chance you lose, especially against a quality team. That's the other thing. The mistakes that they made yesterday, it's one thing to make that against the Tennessee Titans, who they play later in the year. And it's another to do it against a Broncos team that, while we may not have respected them heading into the game, and I certainly didn't, and I was wrong, you can't do that against one of the best, if not the best defense in football, and a team that is playing as good as anybody. They had won 7 in a row entering the game. That was a recipe for disaster. Just like at the same time, we probably were all prepared to say the Broncos, who should have been up 14-0, the Chiefs defense stood up and made it 6-0 instead of 14-0. At that point in time, you're thinking, the Broncos blew their chance to win this game. But they didn't. The Chiefs had opportunities, and they flat out were unable to avoid some of the crucial mistakes. And then I want to get into now what someone texted in, which we already hit on earlier in the show, which is, despite all of the Mahomes issues yesterday and Andy Reid issues, the run game at the end of the game was there for them to potentially utilize. And I went back and forth with someone on the text line. And again, we appreciate the interaction. We're taking your calls today. We'll take more after Andy Reid speaks. So that'll be more towards 12:15, 12:30 today. 913-586-7965. Someone was saying, hey, what coach does adapt that has success? And that's the whole point, though, right? Historically across his career, Andy Reid has adapted schematically and game plan and creativity better than any other coach. You go look at his time, and from how he was winning when he was in Philadelphia to how they were winning 5 years ago. Andy Reid historically has done that. That's the frustration, is I don't feel like he's doing that anymore. That's the whole point. This is not an indictment of his entire career, but when you were winning a certain way, you have to adapt if that does not work anymore. And he's usually been very good at that. Yesterday, even if it's one game, not even the entire season, nobody is suggesting that they need to become a 50-50 run-pass offense. Not at all. Trust me, I don't want that either.
No.
However, in a game like yesterday, where you're playing a really, really quality team, when you are struggling to put points on the board because of the opponent as well, when your defense at that time is doing everything they possibly can to try to keep you in the game, because they did, and then you have opportunities with a lead, you go 3 and out, you don't run the ball. You get the ball back in a tie game with 4 minutes to go, you don't even try to run the football because you don't want to. There's no other explanation, by the way. It's not that we can't. You don't want to. And they didn't need to run it 6 straight plays, although make the Broncos believe you want to run, and that's the issue. There was no threat of it because they know what we all know, that you're not willing, to run the football. That's what it wasn't about. They can't run the ball. Nobody's saying Kareem Hunt is an all-pro back, but they were running the football effectively yesterday, and they refused to on the 2 biggest drives of the season, frankly.
There is something to the sentiment of what got the Chiefs to the mountaintop that they were sitting upon for all those years was what they're doing now. Yes, that's right. What made them so successful is put the ball in 15's hands and he makes things happen. Sometimes you neglect the running game. That's all well and good, and I understand the thought process behind it. But that's also the same thought process that the other 31 teams in the NFL know about the Kansas City Chiefs. So what's gotten you to 3 Super Bowl appearances in a row and 3 Super Bowl titles in 5 years is fantastic. But what is going to get you to your 4th straight Super Bowl? What's going to get you your 4th Super Bowl title in 6 years is not what got you to the first 5. It's just not, because that's what every team across the league is planning their game plan out for, is for Mahomes to get the football. Don't really worry that much about the running game. Don't get fooled by play action. Make sure that the DBs are in their drops on every play, regardless of run or pass. If they're in the shotgun, you really don't have to worry about the running game at all, because even when the Chiefs do run it out of the shotgun, it's incredibly ineffective because shotgun runs are generally that ineffective. So I understand those people that are like, well, it got the Chiefs to this point. They've won 3 Super Bowls with it. I get that. And so does every other defensive coordinator in the National Football League. That's what they want you to do. You have to be able, it's adapt or die, folks, right? It's the law of nature. Adapt or die.
I mean, Chris Jones was talking about the defensive side, but it applies to the offense to me as well. After the game, he was speaking, and he basically was saying how, the Broncos kind of knew what was coming on a particular 3rd down. And look, they watch film too. They're paid to game plan. Like Sean Payton, like in this whole entire day, it's all about the Chiefs. But like, give the Broncos also some credit here. They're scheming up. They're looking at film. They know what's coming. But the fact that it has happened so much this year is going back to the theme of really the show today, which is the fact that the Chiefs have become so stagnant offensively and defensively. Spags' defense is all built on deception. And it's not deceptive.
No.
It's not. And is it easier to be deceptive when you have a pass rush? Sure. And that goes back to personnel and a Brett Veach problem as well. That's why everybody's kind of getting blamed today. But, I think it's really interesting just moving forward for the football team. And we're all talking it out. Like someone says, you good, Gold, man, you're going through it today. Or we're talking out the issues of the football team. We're talking about the issues of the football team. Yeah, I'm not in a great mood today. But I think we're having a good conversation about some of the problems that have crept into this organization and this team in 2025.
Yeah. Rough weekend all around. I have to. My best part of my weekend was hanging Christmas lights. That's how my weekend went. Just one of those days, man. One of those weekends. I go to the Northwest Pitt State game at Sporting on Saturday, and they get boat raced. They turn the ball over 4 times in the first half, and go home and watch the second half of the Iowa-USC game and watch the Hawkeyes collapse in the last 30 minutes. And then I get to watch the Chiefs lose on Sunday. Man. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself. I wasn't close to being institutionalized or anything.
Did you listen to Christmas music at least while you were putting the lights up?
No.
Okay.
No, just out in the yard with my wife and my dad and my brother and my mom hanging Christmas lights. That's what we did. And then had to rake leaves yesterday before the Chiefs game. Spent 4 hours before the Chiefs game raking the leaves in my backyard.
Hey.
That is an aspect of owning a home nobody warns you about at all. Raking leaves sucks, dude. And then you got nowhere to put them. So we have like this burn pit in our backyard. We just decided to start burning leaves in our backyard. That was a 3-hour process of burning leaves in our backyard.
Then it was a 3-hour process watching that Chiefs game right afterwards.
Yeah, it was tough, all around, not a fun weekend for me.
Someone says, where's Cody at? No way he's still off from hernia surgery. He'll be back on Wednesday. He'll be back on Wednesday. Someone else said, is there a chance all three of you will be wearing the Hooters outfit? No, the bet was not whether the Chiefs would make the playoffs. Drew messed up on Drew should have nailed down some more criteria.
Yeah.
The bet was simply before the season, would Cincinnati make the playoffs or not? Drew said they would. Cody and I said no. The loser of the bet has to wear the Hooters outfit. That is still happening. That's a different conversation. Cincinnati's not making the playoffs.
In fairness, me, like the rest of everybody, thought it was a lock that the Chiefs make the playoffs. So this is
But the bet wasn't about the Chiefs making the playoffs.
I know that. I'm just saying that's why I didn't include them. I thought it was set in stone. I thought it was already engraved 2025 playoffs, and the Chiefs would be one of the teams in there.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the playoff conversation, by the way, in the noon hour today. Whether or not you think they still make the postseason. We know the division's done, but are they still going to be a playoff team? What's the track record look like of teams in this spot? What's the path needed for Kansas City to get there? We'll continue to take your texts and calls, even if you disagree with some of the things we're saying. That's the best part of this whole. It's how this whole sports talk radio thing works. Someone said it sounds like you guys have all the answers. Oh, we're just talking it out.
Oh yeah.
If you want if you want like the propropaganda, everything is fine. Then you can. I'm certainly. Sure, there's some
Where's
other
that meme of the dog
there.
sitting in the burning, sitting, or the kid swinging on the swing while the house is burning behind her or whatever?
Yeah. 913.
Just act like everything's fine.
586-7965. We're going to hear from Andy Reid coming up next right here on 96.5 The Fan.
This is Wyatt Thompson, and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays 10 to 2, right here on your home for K-State Athletics, 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey, Zach. Are you smiling at my gorgeous canyon view?
No, Donald. I'm smiling because I've got something I want to tell the whole world.
Well, do it. Shout it out.
T-Mobile's got home internet.
Whoa, I love that echo. T-Mobile's got home internet.
How much is it?
Look at that, Zach. We got the neighbor's attention.
Just $35 a month. And you love a great deal, Denise.
Plus, they've got a 5-year price guarantee. That's 5 whole trips around the sun. I'm switching.
Me too.
Yes, T-Mobile home internet for the neighborhood.
Donald, you still haven't returned my weed whacker.
Carl, don't you embarrass me like this, please.
What's everyone yelling about?
T-Mobile's got home internet.
And Donald's got my weed whacker.
Yes, T-Mobile's got home internet. Just $35 a month with auto pay and any voice line. And it's guaranteed for 5 years.
Beautiful yodeling, Carl.
Taxes and fees apply. See T-Mobile.com/ISP for details and exclusions.
Looking to drive your finances downfield? Main Street Credit Union is the hometown team you can trust. We help you build credit, lower monthly expenses, and finance with confidence. Or if you need a loan to grow your small business, we've got flexible options and no hidden fees. At Main Street, it's not just about the win, it's about keeping Kansas City moving forward. One goal, 1 yard, 1 member at a time. Get in the game at mainstreetcu.org.
Score big savings with Hy-Vee and the Kansas City Chiefs. Big points mean even bigger savings. Just shop Hy-Vee the day after a game and earn a fuel saver discount equal to the Chiefs score and based on the amount you spend. If the Chiefs score 42 points, you save 42 cents a gallon with any $42 purchase. The more we score, the more you save. Win or lose, everyone scores the day after a Chiefs game only at Hy-Vee. Offer good in-store and online. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Imagine this. It's Thanksgiving Day, and instead of juggling pots and pans, you're actually enjoying it. Hy-Vee's got your holiday covered with convenient pre-made meal packs for any size gathering. Fresh, ready-to-heat favorites like juicy turkey, honey glazed ham, or prime rib, plus all the classic sides, rolls, and desserts. And don't forget to swing by the wine and spirits department to make it a feast to remember. Pick up your meal the day before, heat it up, and serve it like you cooked all day. This Thanksgiving, let Hy-Vee do the cooking. You get the credit, only at Hy-Vee.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Choosing the best doctor for your eyes is one of the most important medical decisions you'll ever make. Whether you're considering blade-free LASIK, all laser cataract surgery, and premium lens implants, or want a world-renowned doctor to help with your glaucoma, macular degeneration, dry eyes, or diabetes, trust my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein. Call Silverstein Eye Centers to make an appointment, 816-358-3600. Experience the best eye care in Kansas City.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company.
As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shank Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. Come see for yourself. Visit us in store or at shaneco.com. Shank Company, your friend and jeweler.
Oh, hey, welcome to gift wrapping. Whoa, Zoe Saldana.
Hey, can you wrap these, please?
Wow, iPhone 17s. You splurged.
At T-Mobile, you can get 4 iPhone 17s on them. The new center stage front camera is amazing for group selfies. It's the perfect gift for everyone.
I'm the worst. I only got my mom a robe.
Well, it's better than socks.
So I have to trade in my old phone, right?
No, at T-Mobile, there's no trade-ins needed when you switch. Keep your old phone or give it as a gift.
Incredible.
In fact, wrap up my old phone too. For my Aunt Rosa. Forget that. Aunt Liz will be jealous.
Sounds like my family drama.
Oh, I got it. I'll give it to my abuela. I'll take reindeer paper with, hey, where are you going?
To T-Mobile! The holidays are better at T-Mobile. Get 4 iPhone 17s on us, no trade-in needed when you switch. Plus 4 lines for just $25 a line.
With 24 monthly bill credits and 4 eligible port-ins on essentials for well-qualified customers. Auto-pay plus taxes, fees, and $35 device connection charge. Credits end in balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us. Finance agreement 256 gigabytes, $830 required. Visit T-Mobile.com.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Find what you love and love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
You could think you found your dream home online, but here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Wildcat fans, this is Wyatt Thompson. Tune in all season long to the play-by-play of the 2025 football season, right here on your home for K-State Athletics, 96.5 The Fan.
KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey Sports Station.
We are awaiting Andy Reid's press conference. As soon as he steps up to the microphone, we will head out to Arrowhead. You are not missing any of that. The only place you can hear from Andy Reid on a Monday, of course, is right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Drew Nixon producing the show. Logan Weber, he is filling in for Cody. Bink will be in tomorrow. Cody back on Wednesday. You guys can continue to text in. Obviously, as you can imagine, people very passionate today. 913-586-7965. We'll take calls again, probably not until about 12:30 into the 1 o'clock hour, as we'll be listening to Andy Reid here momentarily, assuming everything is roughly on time. As you guys know, sometimes on the Monday, the timing gets a little thrown off. But don't forget, on Mondays, 30 Hop is our Monday lunch partner here on Cody and Gold. They've got $5.99 classic burgers going on right now at either of the 30 Hop locations, whether you're out in Lee Summit or just down the street from us in Merriam Grand Station. 30 Hop, of course, is your new go-to, an American bar and kitchen, bold flavors, local taps, expansive patios, and an unbeatable happy hour. Stop in for lunch, stay for happy hour, 30hop.com. That's 30hop.com. Local beer, American Eats, big patio. Again, $5.99 classic burgers today over at 30 Hop. While we're waiting for Andy, we didn't get to this conversation. We ran a little late discussing the running back stuff and going back and forth with people. I think the Broncos and how we view them, like, obviously has to be so different. Like, I know you don't like it, but not only are they going to win this division, I think, I don't think it'll be the Chargers. I think it'll be the Broncos. They're a Super Bowl contender now.
Yep.
Like, I don't think Bo Nix is all that great, but at some point you got to give the guy credit. He outplayed Mahomes, and he is playing good enough to win football games. When you have a championship caliber defense, that can happen. Hell, we all remember Peyton Manning was dragged through the postseason by a historically great defense. Now, I admittedly have not looked up every single number on the historical scale to find out where this Broncos defense is, but when they get Pat Surtain, the second back, and he's not out for the year, he will be back at some point in time. Alex Singleton, who's dealing with testicular cancer.
Yeah.
He will be back, thank goodness. He will be back, I think, at some point later on this season for them. I don't believe they think he's out for the year. He's starting already to do some running. My point is the Broncos defense will be good enough for them to win games in the postseason. Will I necessarily bet the Broncos to beat a team that has better quarterbacks? We'll see when we get there, whether it's Drake May, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Lamar Jackson, if they sneak into the playoffs. We'll see. But last week we did the exercise. I think all of us had like our teams that were Super Bowl contenders. And none of us, right, we were wrong. None of us had the Broncos or the Chargers or there was a third team.
Jacksonville?
Well, I still don't think the Jags might make the playoffs and the Chiefs may not, but I don't think Jacksonville's a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, fair.
I think
Colts,
the Broncos.
Patriots.
I think the Broncos are in the group now for me at least, with New England. I'll still keep Buffalo in there, certainly with what they just did to Tampa yesterday.
Yeah.
And the Colts have to be there. I'm still skeptical, and the Chiefs will get the Colts on Sunday. But the Broncos, if they were not in your Super Bowl category, to me, I don't know how on earth they're not after yesterday's performance. And that is with, like, you're going to say, oh, they beat a 5-5 football team. The way they are winning, though, and the one-score games on their side, the reverse of what happened for Kansas City. When you are winning one-score games like that, sometimes it's your year. It's that special. And so the Broncos have that going for them, and they might end up getting the bye, guys. They're right there for the number one seed right now.
Currently, they are the number one seed. Now, some of that is because they have a head-to-head, I believe, over the Patriots, and the Colts are on the bye. So I think that the game of football is so complementary in its approach, right? That we saw it early in Mahomes' career that the defense was really, really bad, but the offense was so good that it kept you in football games where the defense only had to make 2 or 3 plays in order for you to come out on top. That's what the Broncos have in reverse. Their defense is so historically good that the offense doesn't have to be spectacular. The offense doesn't even have to be middle of the pack in the National Football League. They just have to make 2 or 3 big plays throughout the course of a football game in order for your team's chances of winning to increase exponentially. Unfortunately, right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are not playing complementary football. The defense is doing what it can with bad field position a lot of the time because of the offense generating turnovers and the special teams being a complete and utter disaster. That's where the Broncos are. Their defense is going to keep them in every single football game they play in. And the offense is just good enough at times to put them over the top.
Yeah, when they need one possession. Again, this is why the similarities, I know people maybe last week we were discussing the 2024 Chiefs compared to the 2025 Broncos. And yeah, the difference, most notably, everybody was pointing out was Mahomes versus Nix. Now, in a one-game sample here, Bo Nix outplayed Patrick Mahomes. But to me, after this game, I feel even more confident that the Broncos are very much the 2024 Chiefs. Now, I don't know if the Broncos will get to 15 wins when it's all said and done, right? They have 2 currently, so they'd have to win out, correct? Yeah. So I don't know if the Broncos are going to win out. I certainly hope they lose to the Chiefs in a couple weeks again, as far-fetched as that may seem right now. But here's the Broncos schedule. They have the Commanders. I mean, my goodness, after the bye week, too. Very winnable game. I mean, they're going to be massive favorites. Then they have the Raiders, massive favorites. Packers, not really impressing anybody right now. The Broncos get them at home. The Broncos get the Jags. You actually should hope the Broncos beat the Jags in that game, by the way, on December 21st. Then, of course, Christmas night, Chiefs get the Broncos. And then the Broncos wrap up against the Chargers. So I don't think the Broncos will end up as the 1 seed. I think there's a couple games on there that could be trickier. I think they'll clearly be the AFC West champs. I don't believe in the Chargers. The Broncos feel like a number 2 seed, and then the 1 seed to me is going to end up being the Patriots or the Colts. Where are you at there?
I lean towards the Patriots. And funnily enough, I had this conversation maybe 3 weeks ago on After Hours where I said, not only do I think the Patriots will win the AFC East, I think they'll be the 1 seed. And I pretty much got laughed off the text line. But their schedule really lays it out right there in front of you. The Patriots have a pretty relaxed schedule, even compared to the Broncos' schedule, which is also pretty lackluster. So, I mean, you look at what New England has remaining. Yeah, they've got that 1 game left against Buffalo, but they've got a game on the road against the Bengals this week, Giants at home, Ravens on the road, Jets on the road, Dolphins at home. The Bills game is really the game that I circle as one that they could potentially lose, especially if the Ravens are sort of out of the playoff picture by that December 21st game. I would definitely be with you. I think that they're more of a 2 seed in the AFC, but this defense might do enough to push them for a 1 seed. And that's what makes this defense so it's not like the Myles Garrett with the Cleveland Browns where he's the only guy on that defensive line. Unit. It is a complete unit with Benito and Cooper and Zach Allen, and the list goes on and on. I mean, they got so many guys that can get to the quarterback.
Their DC, Vance Joseph, of course, is also doing a hell of a job. Someone said, hey, if you have a $300 bet in the playoffs, who are you taking, Knicks or Mahomes? We know who. Right, but I would love for us to be able to have that conversation. That's not even the debate right now, though. You're right. To answer the question, still in a head-to-head game, yes, obviously I will still choose Patrick Mahomes despite what just happened yesterday. However, that's not even the question. Where the Chiefs have dug themselves a hole. They're 5-5. We all know they basically are a coin flip to make the playoffs now. I think like even some of the analytics that are out there, like the simulations, I should say, that are out there, have the Chiefs like a 58% chance to make the playoffs. I know the betting markets have them at minus 225 or whatever to make it, but that's not even really the debate. The debate is not whether or not in a AFC wildcard game would you choose Mahomes or Bo Nix. One, you got to get there, and that's the issue. And the second part is, as we found out yesterday, it is not only did Mahomes get outplayed, but there are plenty of other issues around him. And while we're waiting, Andy Reid, looks like he's running late here on a Monday. We are awaiting Andy Reid's press conference here on 96.5 The Fan. Like the whole theme of the show we started today, and I'll get back into it now while we're waiting. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Toub, and Mahomes all had terrible days, and I would argue certainly from a coaching end, the worst days of the season for that staff. And as a group, maybe one of the worst in the Mahomes era if you consider everybody in one time. They've had bad performances before, but they haven't had it to this extent. Like yesterday, I think we could go coach by coach. Coach by coach, and yesterday in particular, and some of these are bigger picture issues too. But like starting with Andy Reid, I mean, you guys know where I'm going to head on this towards the end of the game, and something we've been talking about all year long. This goes back to Philadelphia as well. And I know you can say, well, they've won 3 rings. Nobody is taking the three rings away from Andy Reid. Nobody is saying he's not a Hall of Famer. Nobody's taking any of that away. However, in the moments yesterday and throughout the season, in a one-off game, even if philosophically, you, of course, are going to be pass first and all that. You can be that for all game yesterday, and they were. They only ran it 13 times. I'm talking literally, you run it 3 more times. The 2 drives at the end of the game when you went 3 and out. One time you had the lead. One time the game was tied. If you run it 3 more times, I do think there's a chance we're having a completely different conversation today. 4 minutes on the clock. The Broncos not respecting the run, therefore the play action is somewhat useless. You want to win in a certain way, there is a refusal to adapt. And yeah, he's adapted better than anybody throughout his entire career, and I'm not asking him to change his entire schematics of how he runs the Andy Reid offense. That'd be silly. But on one particular game like yesterday, it's clearly a defensive game. You're clearly in a defensive battle. It's, at one point it's 13-13. It wasn't late, but you get the point. It's 19-19. It's a defensive game. While you want to pass and you've got all these playmakers and all that, and you want the flash and it's fun and all that, it is okay to be willing in that circumstance to hand the ball off a time or 2. I'm not even asking for 6 straight runs. I'm talking once or twice to keep the defense honest. Not to mention yesterday, you had success running. Kareem Hunt was averaging 5 yards a carry in the first half. So this is not like, well, if you had Isaiah Pacheco, he would. No, he wouldn't have. This is why you're like, I'm more convinced than ever. I'm glad they didn't trade for Breece Hall.
Yep.
And I know a lot of you disagree with me on that, but like, I'm glad because I don't think they do anything different yesterday. This is a coaching philosophy issue. And yeah, it resulted in 3 Super Bowl rings. Nobody, again, is taking that away. But right now, with how your quarterback is playing a little bit, how the Broncos defense was playing, that was your best path moving forward in that game to potentially ice the game when you had the lead at one point, or at the very least, set yourself up. Yeah, I want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand when it matters most, too. It doesn't mean that for 6 plays in crunch time, though, that you can't ever run the football.
Yeah, 6 plays in those last 2 drives of the game collectively had netted -3 yards and less than 3 minutes off the clock. The Chiefs got the ball up 19-16 with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. threw the ball 3 times for 8 yards, punted the football away. You get the ball back 19-19 with 4 minutes to go, meaning 4 minutes to go with all 3 timeouts. Everything you want is still right in front of you. You don't have to go into a chuck the ball all over the yard mindset. What did they do? 3 plays, 3 dropbacks, negative 11 yards, a minute off the clock, you punted the football away. I know that it's not sexy. I know that it's not what the Chiefs' offense has always been about with Patrick Mahomes. But sometimes running the football, clock management, and eating away time is what is necessary. Even on that, if the Chiefs on that drive there, I understand that the Noah Gray false start sets you back 1st and 15. Right. I get it. But if you if you run the ball just once on that drive and you eat away another 40 seconds off the clock instead of what ended up being that 3rd and 2 incompletion to Brashard. So that's the thing. You still had a 3rd and 2 with 6 minutes to go in the football game, a chance to generate a first down, another 3 plays, eat another 2 minutes off the clock, and they threw the ball on 3rd and 2 out of the shotgun. Why? Run the football, take another 2 minutes away, and then when Denver drives down and kicks that field goal to make it 19-19, then there's only 2 minutes left in the football game, not 4 when you get the ball back, where you turn around and throw the ball 3 times, take a minute off the clock, and you got to punt it back to them, and they can drive down the field and kick. I understand that running the football is not what makes the Chiefs the Chiefs, but sometimes complementary football is what is necessary to win football games. Right now, it just doesn't feel like they're doing that.
Especially when it was working. It's not like they were only averaging 2 yards a pop and they were just struggling to get any sort of push. When they were running the ball as effectively as they were, you're just
right. They were not
them.
getting shut down yesterday. It's one thing for us to sit here and say run the ball more when they're struggling, but that's the frustrating thing. They actually were having success running the ball. They were getting some push against a very good defensive front. Kareem Hunt was effective, especially under center. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe the Chiefs, there were 3 times all game they ran under center. Now, they ran the ball under center. They were under center more than 3 times, but ran the ball under center, if that makes sense. And they got 5, 7, and 11, I think, off of those carries. And so to not do that once, this is an issue that people in Philadelphia brought up for many, many years as well. There are always outliers. So someone saying they were a top 10 rushing offense in 2023, not always been Andy's MO. Yeah, it's the crucial situation. I'm not saying that they have to philosophically change everything they do as an offense. It is in these moments, though, in these individual moments where you were refusing to hand the ball off. And yeah, they did on the first play. They got flagged, as the text line notes, and as you pointed out, but then they abandoned it. It's it's 1st and 15. We can't. That was one drive. What about the other drive, though? Now, that was Andy Reid, and we're still waiting Andy Reid, by the way. His press conference has not begun yet here. We are told they are in meetings still. Well, I'd be in some meetings today as well, so we'll let them have enough time. I'd be in some pretty serious meetings today as well. We are waiting that. How about Steve Spagnuolo, who I still think, just like Andy Reid, he should be the first defensive coordinator in the Hall of Fame, right? To me, he's had a Hall of Fame career. But he's become somewhat predictable. We have audio of Chris Jones talking about how the Broncos knew what was coming, and yeah, they're paid to coach too. Vance Joseph is paid to coach too. Sean Payton is paid to coach as well. But part of Spags' success is on being unpredictable and disguising, and they were predictable for Bo Nix and the Broncos offense on the biggest plays of the game. 3rd and 15 in particular is the one I think we've all kind of focused in on. Yeah. But, at the end of the game, how does that, it's too easy. No pressure on the quarterback. That's been a problem all year, but not blitzing, just sitting back in coverage, letting that happen. Bo Nix, who, while the Broncos have been the cardiac kids, his numbers on yards per reception, for his wide receivers were way down. They were up drastically yesterday. The Chiefs, for the most part, they're a healthy defense yesterday. This wasn't a banged-up defense, but they've become predictable. For 7 years, people have been targeting you. You've had the same coaching staff, and it goes back to the adapting part. And then Dave Toub. I mean, my goodness, what is there to say there? The penalty thing has been an issue all season long. And the block kick, I don't know if that is more on Dave Tobe than it is Butker. Actually, on a block kick, I view that more as a Tobe problem than a Butker problem, honestly.
Yeah.
As much as Butker has been criticized all year at times, and I think fairly early on in the season, that block kick, to me, that was something that the Broncos saw. Again, going back to preparation and everything, the Broncos coming out of a bye week. You're the team coming out of a bye week. They might have had a mini bye, but you were off a bye week. The Broncos saw an opportunity on film the same way you did a year ago against them. And when Leo Chanel had the big block, they did that exact same thing to you, essentially.
Yeah, that blocked PAT looks ugly on replay because you watch off the snap, Wanye Morris, who's lined up at I believe he's right guard, right off the long snapper. He cuts inside. The right tackle goes outside, and there is a massive gap in between the two of them on the offensive line. That guy just snuck his way right through there, put his hand out and blocked it. Wanye Morris touched nobody on that PAT that got blocked. And I understand that that's maybe the game plan. Maybe that's how they coach it. You go here, you go there. And on that particular play, there was no adapting to what the actual rush looked like from the Broncos. I'm not entirely sure, but the special teams unit has been problematic all year. Whether we want to talk about the missed field goals and PATs by Butker earlier in the year, which he's actually gotten better at. He's been much more consistent in that. Not that we want to talk about necessarily a lot of the positives today, but the kickoff game has certainly been a problem for Butker. The first kickoff he had of the game went into the end zone, so the Broncos got the ball at the 35. They had short field to go down and kick that field goal. And then the next one, he kicks it 6 yards short of the target area. So that continues to be a problem. Matt Ariza was punting the hell out of the football yesterday. I think he had multiple kicks, punts of over 60 yards, but he also did run himself the risk of out-kicking his coverage a little bit, and it gave an all-pro like Marvin Mims opportunities to have a couple of big returns in that game. And then, the penalties are a problem. Every time this team seemingly returns a kickoff or a punt, there is some sort of holding, block in the back, whatever that ends up happening that completely negates what that unit wants to do. The special teams, I don't know if it's necessarily lost the Chiefs a game yet this year, but it has definitely not helped them win a football game this year. They've been a net negative over the first 10 games of this season.
Yeah, I think it has. I don't think it was yesterday that it did necessarily. I understand the block kick, but I don't think yesterday was a complete. We just went through each coach in particular. We've talked about Patrick Mahomes today. Yesterday was truly a complete all-around L for this football team in Denver. Now, early in the year, like the Jacksonville game, I think on that one, once again, it's not a coincidence. The games where the Chiefs, you felt like were still there late and could have won. Patrick Mahomes has had the red zone turnovers, the pick six, and then yesterday had the key turnover that took 3 points off the board. It was also a game where you felt like, on a coaching end, that there were some mistakes there in how late game situations were handled with play calling. We didn't even talk yet today about, it ends up being a smaller footnote on the whole thing, but, before half, I thought they were way too conservative with how they approached that. The Chiefs, there was about a minute or so on the clock. Bo Nix, Broncos, 4th and 1. The Chiefs let 30 seconds bleed from the clock. You have Sean Payton who calls a timeout. They punt back to Kansas City. Yeah, if you call timeout with a minute, there's a chance the Broncos on 4th and 1 go QB sneak or whatever and get it. Sure, but make them have to make the decision. Make them convert it. Hell, I just watched even last night, Philadelphia failed even on the tush push twice. So, to act like, assume that stuff is going to be converted automatically, I think is a loser's mentality. They were not aggressive. The most aggressive they were on the first 4 plays of the game. When they took, out of the first 6 passes, I think 3 were deep shots. That was aggressive. That was the most aggressive they were the whole entire day. After that, it was very, I think even the broadcast mentioned, close to the vest, however you want to phrase it, conservative, close to the vest, same thing throughout much of the game.
And again, that goes right back to the conversation we've been having this entire time. This game was so conservative in terms of the play calling. Typically, when you see conservative football, that includes running the football, which they didn't do at all. How are you conservative and yet you're still throwing the football 45 times despite, I know Kareem Hunt's not a bell cow at this point in his career. I'm not saying Kareem Hunt's an all-pro level talent. But if he gets 20 carries in this football game, he's approaching 100 yards on the ground. That's the level that he was at yesterday, 13 for 60 yards. How are you playing conservative football and not running the thing? I don't understand that thought process at all.
Somebody mentioned this earlier on the text line as we still await Andy Reid, and I think there's some merit to it. It was about Patrick Mahomes. They said they die with Patrick Mahomes having the ball in his hand, and then Kareem Hunt on like that 3rd and 2 you mentioned. If they run Kareem Hunt, they don't get it. At that point, it's like, what are you doing running the? I think it's hindsight's a little bit 2020, where run the football, but if they don't get it, then it's like, why are you not letting the best quarterback in the game throw the football? Is there anything to that, or is it also you're observing, hey, Pat's not having a good game really at all. We're running the football effectively. It might sound crazy, but is it better to take the ball out of the quarterback's hands? Because if you got Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow, you're throwing the football. Matt Stafford, you're gonna die on that hill.
Yeah, my issue is not just with the one play though. My issue is you had the ball with the lead, 3 and out. You had the ball tied with 4 minutes to go, 3 and out with no runs. This is not just like
they didn't even get a first down.
This is not just like, on the 3rd and 2, run it versus maybe it's an RPO, Mahomes' decision. By the way, if it was that the play design was Brashard Smith was open. That was a bad throw by Patrick Mahomes. He didn't see him quick enough. But this isn't. It's so philosophically, like in general, what you're saying in the texter, I would agree with. Yeah, like the best player on my team is still Patrick Mahomes. I want him deciding if I win or lose. Like in general, I think if we without any context,
of course,
agree. Context, though, in a 1 game and a 2 drive and how the game is playing out, how my quarterback's playing, how the defense is playing us, I can at least hand the ball off 1 time. Like, I'm not suggesting that out of the 6 plays they got, because they went 3 and out, that they should have ran the ball 5 of the 6, although I kind of wouldn't have hated that. But, like, I'm not suggesting that that's what they had to do. 1 time.
Yeah.
That's my issue. This is not whether or not I think that the Chiefs need to be led by Kareem Hunt. No, absolutely not. He's a very average running back. But yesterday, he was putting up numbers at him averaging 5 yards a carry. That's better than an average running back. So go with the hot hand a little bit, please. Late in the game, ice the game away. Have the killer instinct. Normally, we think killer instinct has to be the big throw. That's my whole point of like the show today when we're talking about coaching. Andy Reid doesn't have to change his entire philosophy, but it is okay. And to me, it's like when you have the success you have, like anything in life, you get an ego and you want to win a certain way. You know better than everybody else, all that kind of stuff. I do get that. But you have to be willing in that moment, maybe not to win the flashy, sexy way. You want to win by throwing the ball. In that spot, the best move may have been to run the ball. And this is not unique to just yesterday. Like, this is not hindsight 2020. That's why I feel confident in saying it today on the show. This is not like some new grand idea. You guys have been saying it to us all year, too. You guys have all been saying it. This isn't some like one-off. This is the one game all year we've said they should run the ball more late. No, we've said it countless times this year. Frankly, this has been a Andy Reid career thing.
Yeah, it's just the latest episode in a seasons-long problem for this Chiefs team of just, at times, I don't want to say abandoning the running game, because that feels like at some point they're acknowledging the running game, just completely omitting it, like just acting as if it doesn't exist, like that's never an option for this football team at certain points.
All right, Andy Reid, they're running late, so we'll let you know. Drew will update us whenever they are ready. At some point, hopefully during the show today, Andy Reid's press conference will take place. Up next, I want to get back into the AFC West, which is over. We all agree. What about the playoff run? Do you still have faith that this team is making the postseason? You can call into the show as well, 913-586-7965.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Tune in for the Chiefs Red Half Hour every day, starting at 11:30 right here on your home for Chiefs football, 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Well, sometimes live radio will get you. We're back very quickly. Andy Reid is speaking now. Brought to you by Arvest Bank, believing in the power of serving others.
Last night, so the guys are all working their way in now. With that, I mentioned last night after the game, still feel that way, that too many penalties in crucial situations or crucial areas of the field that can put you in a bad position. I've got to make sure I give our guys plays that they can definitely execute better than what we did. which caused some of the penalties that were involved. So take full responsibility on that, and then giving the guys plays that they can work on in the red zone, so we can gain more touchdowns in that area, and they give them a better opportunity on time there if we're throwing it, and then space in the run game. Defensively, I thought for the most part we did a good job. We had a couple of these third downs that we need to take care of and get off the field, and none bigger than towards the end there. So the two offensive, I thought the two offensive three and outs, and the big penalty at the end, and then field position with the special teams wasn't on our side. We were minus 12 there, so we got to stay on top of that, and those all, you add all that up, and you're not going to end up normally on the positive end of things. I appreciate the fight and the guys. I felt like I could have, like I said, give them a better opportunity to get in the end zone, and we've got to make sure we do that. So full responsibility right here. And with that, time's yours.
Let's go ahead and start with Vahe. Go ahead, Vahe.
Andy, I think the last time you were 5-5, you guys went to the postseason, and I just wonder if that's the sort of thing you draw on or point to at this point, as you start sort of just looking to reset.
Yeah, so we're not quite as negative as the outside world is here, Vahe. So we know that we need to clean up and we need to do it. But the guys, they get it. I mean, some of these guys have been through some pretty good seasons, and this isn't like this one's lost, Vahe. So we got to clean up a few of these things, and the urgency level. Obviously, we need to make sure we take care of that now. And anyways, with that, yeah.
Well, just one other thing too. Then you've done such a good job over the years of making sure people see this as one game at a time. Is there any particular thing you point to about the ability to convey that, or their own ability to stay focused on that's just about this week at this point?
Yeah, sure. No, I mentioned that to him after the game, actually. So that you just what can you do? You can do and get yourself ready to play Indianapolis. That's what you can do. Everything else is involved with a crystal ball, but you can take care of today and tomorrow and the following day. And let's start there.
Let's go next to Pete. Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Sid, I'll have one other one too. Just to follow up on sort of what Vahe was alluding to. In the seasons where you were able to turn it around, what traits of those teams do you think stood out, as you were able to kind of get a little bit more consistent?
Yeah, well, it was just a little bit what we're talking about. Pete just said you have to take care of the small things. So, and that's coaches included. I mean, whether it's volume, whether it's fundamentals, you got to take care of the small things. And when I tell you I'm responsible for that, I'm responsible for that. And then the players have to do the same thing, take care of the small things. Why are we having the penalties? And then let's fix that. And don't point to the officials, don't point here or there. Take responsibility for it. If it's fundamentals, if you're on the back end and you need to plant and drive, why didn't we do our offensive line? You didn't step with the right foot. All those things you control, and you got to take care of those things. Small things, but they all add up.
And I guess in the micro, you mentioned getting guys in the right position last night. Is there a specific area from this game where maybe you feel like if you went in a different direction, it could have changed the course of the evening for you?
No. Well, listen, you always feel that if you come out. Sometimes even when you win a game, you go, I could have done better right there, right? So there are plays you like that back. But I'm always looking, what could I have done better to give the guys a chance to to be successful, or during the week, what do we do, or how did we set it up, going in? So yeah, I mean, I look at that. I got to pick out a specific area, but it's that's I already mentioned the red zone. So I mean, but those are areas that we've got to score points.
Thanks.
Go next to Matt Derrick.
Hey, Coach. You've had a couple of the games this year, and the last two have kind of fit in this category where you've had more of a pass balance than a run balance. And yesterday, kind of a little bit more lopsided than you usually are. What's your comfort level and confidence right now in the run game, especially just the confidence level and the efficiency and the commitment to the run game?
Yeah, that's obviously a good question. So I know you know all this, but it's we're calling quite a few of the RPOs. So yesterday they were giving us opportunities to throw the football. So we utilized the opportunities there, and those things end up being as good as a run for you. We're getting 4+ yards, and you go with it. And but the runs are being called. It's just sometimes they get turned into passes in today's world. That's how it goes. So, but we're getting them in now. We have some hard runs where you just get up, line up, and go. Probably could call more of those to be, for you to write something there.
And you also mentioned that you said that the mood there is not as negative as it is maybe outside the building. What is the mood? What are the guys kind of feeling, especially since you're kind of in playoff mode now?
Yeah, sure. It was disappointment last night. They fought their hearts out, and uh, uh, had too many mistakes. I mean, we could have, like I said, I could have gotten them in better positions, but they were disappointed. These guys normally take responsibility for those type of things. So I go around on the plane on the way back and I talk, see where we're at, and I get a pretty good feel on where what the guys are thinking immediately after a game. And these guys are accountable for their actions. They don't finger point and do all of that, and that's going to help us get through and get on the positive end of this thing. So we just got to clean up a few things as we go.
Go next to Todd Lebo. Go ahead, Todd.
Coach, missed a couple of opportunities on the deep pass, especially early in the game there. What are you seeing from the guys during practice? Are those deep passes connecting in practice? Was it a little surprising you weren't able to get some of those yesterday?
Yeah, we were off on a tick, and then we came back and made a couple, and that or at least got pass interference on a couple that were right there. So that that's how you play this thing. Sometimes they're going to hit, sometimes they're not. Would Pat like to have him back? He probably told you that. So I would say, yeah, you'd love to have him back. And could we have done a little better here or there? Yeah. But that's all part of it. We had some big ones that added up for us down the way. But sure, we would like to have completed those. I mean, to answer your question, yes, we would like to completed them. Yeah.
Looks like we have one more, and go ahead, Blair.
Hey, Andy, just wanted to get your thoughts on Josh Simmons' performance and last week when he came back. What was it that you needed to see from him to know he was ready to go?
Yeah, well, some of it was just where he was physically. Some of it was where are you mentally, and can you handle where we're at here 4 weeks later with what we're doing. I thought he handled that well as he went through the week. We got in the game, he handled it well. He had a couple penalties there that he's got to clean up, and but that was a pretty big assignment that he had with those two defensive ends. So, but I thought he did a respectable job there.
All right, so
Thank you, Coach. That's all we have.
So that was Andy Reid speaking to the media a little bit later than normal, but glad we got that in. Appreciate you guys hanging with us with the schedule moving around a little bit here in the noon hour. Of course, Andy Reid's press conference brought to you by Arvest Bank, believing in the power of serving others. A couple of things stood out, certainly, from that. We've been talking about the run game stuff. So I want to play the clip just on that because I thought it was kind of telling how he answered when he was asked about, hey, how do you balance the run-pass disparity and, the decisions? And he said, the RPOs were a big chunk of that. Just let me play this answer again because you and I both kind of perked up and had the same reaction. Sure, if we can get my computer flipped back on.
That's obviously a good question. So I know you know all this, but it's we're calling quite a few of the RPOs. So yesterday they were giving us opportunities to throw the football. So we utilized the opportunities there, and those things end up being as good as a run for you. We're getting 4+ yards, and you go with it. And but the runs are being called. It's just sometimes they get turned into passes in today's world. That's how it goes. So, but we're getting them in now. We have some hard runs where you just get up, line up, and go. Probably could call more of those to be, for you to write something there.
So, look, that's the whole thing. Like, look, RPOs, that's obviously on Patrick Mahomes, and there's a look that he likes, and he's had plenty of success doing that throughout his career. I think nobody is suggesting that the RPO should go away at all. But I read a little bit of that answer. I don't know if you took it the same way, Logan, where one, put a little bit on Patrick.
Agreed.
Which is fine because he wasn't great yesterday, but a little bit on him. Like, he sees something, it's a look we like. It's an RPO. He can't hand the ball off. But then also, as he acknowledged at the end, he called them hard runs, so I guess I'll roll with that terminology too. You can call an actual run, like on the two final drives. Like, it is like nobody's saying you can't ever call an RPO, but you can also call a play from under center that hands the ball off to Kareem Hunt. That is still a possibility
when it's most effective.
Like hard run, actual run, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Like, that still doesn't, to me, like, he answered the question, but like that's still not the complaint. Nobody is sitting here saying you can't call RPOs in that circumstance. No, we're saying it is okay to call an actual, like a guaranteed run. Guaranteed run. Yeah. It is possible.
Because again, it goes back to the same thing we talk about over and over again. Yes, I understand the thought process of put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands and allow him to do things with it, allow him to make decisions. Whether you want to admit it or not, the guy's a quarterback. So inadvertently, even if the RPO is there, and even if the run is the option you're supposed to take, if he sees something even slightly that he doesn't like, as a quarterback, the guy who wants the football in his hand, he's gonna keep it. And even if you hand it off, because we saw them hand it off in those RPO settings, which are, as we all know, always out of the shotgun, they're not effective. This Chiefs team is not effective at running the football out of a shotgun set. They are at their best when they are under center and they are running the football.
Yeah, and look, I told you I'm not going to absolve Mahomes from executing. I do think on the one, I think it was an RPO on the 3rd and 2, right? And he threw it to Brashard Smith, and he saw Smith late. Like, from a play design, like that was more on Mahomes not executing. So this is not acting as if this is not also Mahomes' issue. But man, you can do the RPOs while also calling actual run. Guarantee a run play. The Broncos don't respect your run game. Like, so as much as you're saying they're giving us looks to pass, I also just think they're not worried about you running the football.
Yeah, Brashard Smith ran the ball once in this football game. It was that little like speed pitch play or whatever it was that went for like 11 yards, and it got called back on a holding penalty by Kingsley Suamataia, who was 9 yards away from the play. And then he never touched the football again in the ground game.
Yeah, not that I expected it to be this, revolutionary changing moment, but if you were hoping that what happened yesterday is going to suddenly prompt them to kind of shift some of their thinking on that, no, it's not. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. They don't need to come out on Sunday against the Colts and run the first 10 plays. I'm not suggesting that either. But if you thought that the way the game ended, that if the exact, let me ask you this truly in the text line, 913-586-7965. If the exact same scenario presents itself on Sunday, Chiefs Colts. Let's say the Chiefs are fortunate to have a 3-point lead with the ball 6 minutes to go. Okay? They have the ball at their own 25-yard line, we'll say. How confident are you that the Chiefs even call a single run play? And that's the same scenario exists, and it's against the Colts this go around. And Pacheco, let's say even Pacheco's healthy. If for those of you that think it would have been different with different personnel.
I'm not.
No, I think they've shown it. Like
confident.
they would the same exact thing. I don't believe they would change. That was my whole point about like why I don't need. They could have traded for Breece Hall. I think they would have had the exact same RPO calls and not done actual, as Andy says, hard run plays. Like he knows a million times more about football than anybody in this room will ever know. 1,000 times, 100 times over. But sometimes I think it's overthought. Like. It's the under center stuff. Sometimes you're overthinking it. Like, I've never coached a football game in my life. I'm not trying to act like some football expert. But you guys listening, a lot of you, like, sometimes it is not. We make this seem like they truly are trying to cure cancer out there, right? And like, and split the atom or whatever, right? Like, doesn't always have. It's always not that complicated.
Can that also be part of the problem, where they make not that they're overcomplicating things by not running the ball enough, and all of a sudden, what seems like, well, we've always done this, and well, it's successful, turns into predictability, and you're struggling to move the football. And over the course of the last 2 seasons, we've seen the offense just look completely flat. And I think this was something that I think we even talked about it, where with the full complement of wide receivers, if the offense still looks the same, then there's serious problems. And through 10 games, the offense, it's been a little bit better, but there's moments where the offense looks the exact same, where they're just slow. They can't move the football well, or even if they do, they can't get touchdowns on the board, and that's something we've seen the last couple of seasons.
You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+. Watch your local NFL game all season long, kicking off with the Week 12 matchup between the Colts and Chiefs. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We obviously had to move a few things around there with the press conference. I do want to get to the AFC West conversation coming up in just a second as well. But in the meantime, let's get to it, Drew. It's time for the random question of the day.
Random question.
Random question of the day. Kansas City Urology Care at KCUC. Remember, you see the best in KC. Visit kcurology.com today. I believe Drew has the question of the day today. 913-586-7965.
I can't remember if we brought it up on Friday or not, or when this was announced, but Vine is coming back. Did you guys know this?
I did. I heard about this last week.
So did you guys ever have Vine? I had it on my phone. So I think Vine was popular. Maybe I'm off on my time frame. Like, was this like early college for me? Like, was this 2013? Or 2010, I mean?
2012-ish to 2017.
Yeah, like almost like 10, like 09 to 13.
I don't know if I ever sit out of Vine, ever. I obviously was on the Vine app, and there was some of the very popular moments.
Of course.
They're like 6-second clips, right?
Yeah, they're 6-second clips. I never posted any, but I was there for the content, more or less. Well, so Vine is coming back. It's backed by Jack Dorsey, who I believe created Twitter. But there are... Of all of the Vines ever made, 10,000 previous archived Vines will be featured. So some of those that we love will be back on the app. No AI-generated content. This is something I think that gets some people excited, where if you try to make any AI-generated content, apparently there's some sort of feature where it's not going to allow it to get posted. If you tried, it wouldn't let it. Still 6-second clips like normal. Are you in? You out? I think I'm going to download the app. I don't know if I'm going to post anything again, but it'll be for the 10,000 previously archived Vines that disappeared, so I can see them again.
I'm going to sound very, very old. This won't age well.
Okay.
What the hell am I going to post that's 6 seconds? Like what do you want to see? Like we have drops. I guess that's the answer. Like we have drops on the show. You know,
that would be a good
like,
one.
Other than that, like now with video, I guess that'd be the answer. Because otherwise, what am I going to post that's 6 seconds on there? Like we have drops from Cody. Oh, my computer's off again, Drew.
We're good.
My pulse is not good enough.
You know, we've got Drew saying things.
God dang.
You know, you got me saying
Before
things.
you
jump down my throat. things, those are 2-second clips. What am I posting that are 6 seconds?
What you do is you create a montage, a quick little, god dang, you play Cody's, then you play mine right afterwards. So Cody, what he says, I'm saying god dang too, and then you mix it all together to make it 6 seconds. I don't know.
You're going to be obsessed with this, aren't you? When is it relaunch? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows yet. They have a beta that's out right now that I think you can download. I did not download the beta. There is a beta though.
Bob should create a Vine. It should just be him saying 35-0 every Vine. It's going to be the Chiefs are going to win 35-0. That should be the 6 seconds. And Drew, you've been poking fun at him for that on your predictions, so you should do the opposite.
Hey,
Drew's purposely been picking the opposite. He's been saying 35-0 the other way now. Drew's got like a battle going.
Well,
with Fesco.
Okay. In fairness, I joked that I would predict 35-0 Broncos. I said 20-17. I think this one would be one. If I did post one, then this would be it. I feel bad for the eggplant.
Someone says, I thought Reels and TikToks were killing our attention spans, but 6 seconds is going to destroy it. Someone says 6 seconds of shirtless Drew is 6 seconds I do not need to see.
Oh, a 6-second Vine of you in the Hooters cheerleading outfit might feed families, to be honest.
It actually might.
No, I'm definitely going to download. I'm in the same boat like you are, Drew. I'm not going to post any. Like, I have a TikTok, but I don't post anything on TikTok. I just scroll and watch videos. I was a huge Vine fan. So that was while I was in high school. Not college necessarily, but that was when I was in high school. And I could quote 1,000 Vines in my head right now as we speak. I thought that it was a hysterical platform. And there's still people that I follow on TikTok who utilize like a similar sort of like Vine platform of like these 6 to 8 second videos that are just pure, unadulterated chaos that leave you wondering, number one, what is the IQ of this person? And number two, why can't I stop laughing? Yeah, I'm definitely downloading this app.
So I am, and it's so some people are against it. I miss when we weren't so starved for attention. So many texts. Look, I'm not saying I need it to survive, but I do think something that naturally provides a way to laugh. Like I do not have TikTok, period. I feel like it's almost a badge of honor that I haven't downloaded TikTok.
I have an account, but I don't like post anything.
But yeah, I am trying to, I'm trying to be better about, staying off my phone and those other things who are obviously.
You've been on your phone. I've seen the selfies. Someone DM'd Cody and I over the weekend. You had a selfie in front of a mirror. What was going on there?
I was,
my boy was looking good. Man?
I just took a picture,
He's getting spiffy.
But he was wearing a tank top.
No, I Logan, for that one, I was fresh out the shower. I was
fresh out the shower selfie.
Clothes on.
What are you, a 17-year-old trying to go to prom? Come on, Drew. Shower selfie is crazy work, man. That like a teal tank top.
Yeah,
I tried to defend you as best I could there.
I know you did.
That photo's not giving you any. That's not helping.
But I do think, like you though, you get caught scrolling and everything like that. But I feel like Vine is something that is it's not going to make a comeback in the way that it used to be, probably. But the fact that they're bringing back the archived ones, I think, pulls people back in where they're. Also, it's not called Vine, by the way. It's called Divine.
Okay.
D-I Vine.
Yes.
Okay.
Divine.
All right, that is the random question.
It doesn't necessarily sound like
of the day.
A social media app, I guess. But
Divine. What do you think it sounds like? Well, no, it sounds like you have an idea. What do you think it sounds like, Drew?
You can take your.
No, you're laughing over there. What do you think? What do you think Divine should be? Like, if you were to predict what an app named Divine, what do you think it should mean?
Dating app.
Okay.
Or
valid.
Some sort of content. Content that's.
What kind of content?
I'd argue that X doesn't sound like a social media app either.
That was a big joke when they renamed it. That it's still Twitter to everybody.
It'll forever be Twitter.
Correct.
Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, we will get to stock up, stock down. How to move some things around, but we will do stock up, stock down. I want to talk about the playoffs though here, because the AFC West run is over. I understand mathematically it is not 0%. It's something like 5 or 6%, I believe. But the division is over. Come on, we don't have to waste our time with that. The question is the playoff run over? Is the playoffs in their future at all? We all know where they sit. They're a 5-5 football team. They're currently the 9th team in the AFC, and the tiebreakers are disastrous for them right now. There's no other way to put it. They do not have one over Jacksonville. We all know how devastating the Week 5 loss was. It's proving to be that more and more each and every week. The Jags just won a game. They destroyed the Chargers. The Chargers, you're going to play again, but right now the Chargers, not only do they have a couple more wins than you, they have a current tiebreaker over you. The Houston Texans, you will play later, but they currently have a tiebreaker over you. They're also 5-5. The Ravens are 5-5. You do have the tiebreaker over them. I actually don't think the Ravens matter as much because to me, the Steelers, Ravens, only one of them is getting in. Maybe I'm off on that. But to me, the bigger problem is you don't own, and the Bills too. Let's not forget the Bills. You don't own a tiebreaker over them either. So you get no benefit of tiebreakers, most likely, when the dust settles, if you're even going to get in the spot where that matters. So as much as we can say, 5-2 gets you to a 10-7 record, yeah, they would need about 3 tiebreakers or three teams to really suffer here down the stretch. It's the NFL. It can happen, but I'm not sold there. I think they have to go 6-1, Logan. So am I saying the playoffs are completely done? No, I'm not there yet. I think if they lose to the Colts, you will find me there on Monday. If they lose to the Colts, to me, it's over because I don't believe they will win out the rest of the way at that point in time. They beat the Colts. I think they absolutely could go 6-1 down the stretch. So that's where I'm at. I don't think they're running the table. We just got done talking about the issues that they have in their performances. Why on earth would I think they can run the table? The difference is there any regression in a positive way on the one-score game stuff? So they went from top of the world, 17 straight one-score games, won 12 of them last year, to now all the way to 0-5. If they play in more one-score games, and they're probably going to with the way this football team is, I don't think they're going to be blowing out anybody, right? So, frankly, their defense is still good enough that they will be in one-score games on the flip side. I don't think they're getting blown out. As much as it's easy to sit here on a Monday after a loss like yesterday and think, the Colts are going to come here and kick the Chiefs' ass. Look, the Chiefs may not win, but I don't think they're getting their ass kicked. I think it'll be a close game. So I think the Chiefs still, as of right this second, are going to make the playoffs, but my confidence is worse than it's ever been. And I'm telling you that it requires them going 6-1, including a win against the Colts on Sunday.
I am not completely convinced that they won't make the playoffs, but I really don't think they will. I do not have any confidence right now. I mean, you say your confidence is lower than it's ever been. I have none.
There you go.
At this point. Yeah, the Colts come into and they may beat the Colts, right? I am of the opinion that you need to beat the Colts and the Cowboys in the next 14 days. I don't have a ton of confidence that you can go out and beat the Colts in what is going to be a knockdown drag out of a football game that I think is going to rely heavily on the passing attack of both of these teams, because the Chiefs are generally, outside of the Buffalo game this year, very, very good at stopping the run. If you can slow down Jonathan Taylor, force Daniel Jones to beat you, that's great. That's a win for the Chiefs defense. But on the flip side, the Colts are one of the best rushing defenses, not to mention the Chiefs don't run the football. So Mahomes is going to have to do what he did against the Broncos on Sunday, but do it better. And then, even if all that comes to fruition and you beat Indy in Kansas City, now you have to go on the road with 3 days rest and play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I have no confidence in my heart of hearts right now to say that they can do both of those things.
I get it. I get, again, I'm not here to tell you, especially after yesterday, anybody that says the team's not making the playoffs. I mean, it's hard for me to dismiss that at all, right? I'm just not 100% there yet. Also, the odds makers were wrong this past Sunday because the Chiefs were 4.5-point favorites at close against the Broncos. But I'll point this out, Logan. Believe it or not, the Chiefs are going to be favorites still in every game the rest of the way. At least they currently are. Let me put it that way. They currently are, if you look at the look-ahead lines. So that's what's crazy. Text line, no, that would be incorrect. We are not wearing Hooters uniforms. People are very confused on this bet we made with Drew preseason.
I'm willing to change it to what the text line wants.
I know you would.
Evidently
the bet preseason, we keep getting the bet preseason was Drew said the Bengals would make the playoffs. We said they wouldn't. So Cody and I made a bet and said, all right, if they make it, Cody and I will wear the Hooters outfit. If the Bengals don't, Drew will. That's the bet. It had nothing to do with Kansas City. Drew did not put in a qualification that the Chiefs also have to make the playoffs. That was a mistake. Who would have thought we would have needed that?
I didn't. That's why I didn't put it in there.
So, no, let me clear up the details of the bet. The Chiefs have no bearing on our Drew Hooters outfit bet. Cincinnati is 3-7, right? Cincinnati, unfortunately, essentially also might have to win out for Drew to win the bet and for us to lose it. So yeah, this sidetrack, but that has nothing to do with this conversation.
Playoffs.
Yeah, look, I get it. I get it. If you're more out there and you're feeling the same way, I totally get it. I'm just not there yet, because if they beat the Colts, and this is fine, they beat the Colts, then I think people are also still having a different feeling. I'm not feeling good about the team at all. I mean, you guys have been listening to the show today.
This is what it's like. I know that Chiefs fans have felt this way, obviously, previously, but welcome back to the side of things where if things are miserable, they can change right back in 1 week, and then they can fall flat on their face again another week. Welcome back to that side of things, where everything's not necessarily just always going to be okay.
It does feel like we are having a slightly spoiled conversation here a little bit. And I have had that thought
but the
internally.
Expectations are high here.
But
of course.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast when you are the Chiefs and you've been to 5 Super Bowls in the last nearly a decade, and you've won 3. The expectations are sky high. So when things aren't going well, okay, people can make the joke of like, oh, we're acting like the sky is falling. Well, it kind of feels that way a little bit when the sky is winning a Super Bowl and you're not there.
They're in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time in 11 years.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And you're in the middle of Patrick Mahomes' prime, and you don't want to waste those years. That's reality. That's why people are frustrated today. So I don't blame anybody that wants to say the season's over today. I might disagree with you, but if you say the season's over, I totally get it. If you think it's all falling apart, I totally get it. We'll continue talking about the Colts more later on in the week. But up next, I want to get into the blame game a little bit more, not just from yesterday, but we'll open up the phone lines again if you guys want to chime in, 913-586-7965. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Brett Veach, bigger picture with where this organization currently sits, not just yesterday's game. Where do you put the blame? Plus a little stock up, stock down in the NFL.
This is Cody and Gold. Tune in for Nate Taylor every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, right here on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan. Cody and Gold are brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Around here, we've got each other's backs. When it comes to health insurance, we want that same kind of support. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City gets that. They're from around here too. Backed by the national strength of the Cross and Shield, they help you make confident choices, no matter where you are. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. From here, for wherever you are. That's the benefit of blue.
Is your garage door too loud and whining for help? Overhead Door Company of Kansas City will make it all better. They will perform their full 26-task garage door tune-up for just $79. That's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year, so why not now? And for just $79. Call Overhead Door Company of Kansas City at 816-221-0072 or schedule online at overheaddoorkc.com.
Hey, football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown in the game, but his teammate scores instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. That's right. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. With BetMGM's second chance offer, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Try a first TD score wager with confidence today. BetMGM. Make it legendary. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards paid back in unrestricted withdrawable funds. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
This is Danon Hughes. In Kansas City football, we honor tradition, but we always look forward to what's next. That's why I'm all in for Flight by Yuengling. It's brewed by the oldest brewery in America, but built for today. 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, crisp, clean, and full of flavor, just the way a light beer should be. It's got the legacy and the stats to back it up. Flight by Yuengling, the next generation of light beer and the official beer of Danon Hughes. D.G. Yuengling and Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Hey folks, I've got a couple of important questions for you. Do you know how much money you need to retire? Do you have a plan in place for your loved ones? If your answer is no, it's time to get your financial planning on track with UMB Private Wealth. It's never too late to start. Plus, their team supports you at every step of the planning process. Go to umb.com/private wealth to schedule your appointment. That's umb.com/private wealth. Why not start today?
Hey, Chiefs fans, Crown Royal is the official whiskey of the Kansas City Chiefs. And this season, it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/royal rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
Gates Barbecue's distinctive flavors will make your holiday meals unforgettable. Spice up your holiday table with Gates sauces and seasonings. Prepare your meats, potatoes, and vegetables with Gates seasonings, and top it off with one of the 5 Gates sauces. While watching a game or your favorite holiday movie, sprinkle Gates original seasoning on a bowl of hot buttered popcorn. So good. You can buy Gates at your neighborhood grocer or online at gatesbarbecue.com. Gates Barbecue, still doing it the old-fashioned way. Thanks. With love.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-922-1284. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-922-1284. 800-922-1284. 800-922-1284.
Let's qualify for enrollment. Results vary. Consult with your tax professional prior to enrollment.
You think you understand how this business works, but you don't.
Landman, TV's biggest phenomenon, returns to Paramount Plus. From Taylor Sheridan, co-creator of Yellowstone, starring Billy Bob Thornton.
You have to know the rules of the game and bend them, and you really have to know them to break them.
Demi Moore.
I want success. Get it for me.
Andy Garcia, Ali Larder, and Sam Elliott.
You don't even know the game you're playing, do you?
Landman, new season, now streaming. Only on Paramount Plus.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Hey, it's Trent McDuffie. The Chiefs Radio Network pregame show starts 3 hours before kickoff right here on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold with you. Drew Nixon, producer of the show. Logan Weber filling in for Cody. Bank will be in for Cody tomorrow. And then we should have the full Cody and Gold crew back on Wednesday as Cody returns from his surgery. We'll let him explain some of the stories attached. We called him on Friday, though. We did call him on Friday. He sounded hoarse, Logan. He sounded very hoarse, and I don't know if that was the meds or what was going on, but we'll check in with him when he's back on Wednesday. Don't forget, here on a Monday, 30 Hop, our Monday lunch partner on Cody and Gold. $5.99 classic burgers all day long. Check out their location in Lee Summit, also in Merriam Grand Station. You can stop in for lunch, but stay for happy hour, 30hop.com. Local beer, American Eats, big patio, just $5.99 classic burgers today. We will get to stock up, stock down, moving it around a little bit today with Andy Reid's press conference, running a little late. So we'll get to that in about 8 minutes or so. But I do want to discuss bigger picture. This is not about just yesterday, because I think I told you it's clearly coaching. But who gets the most blame, just where the organization currently sits? Like, I understand they're 5-5, and if we did this exact same question 4 weeks ago, nobody would have wanted to maybe even discuss this. But they're a 5-5 team. They've got some big-time contracts to pay out in the offseason. They've got some tough decisions to make. This past year's draft right now, of course, we always said it all is going to be dependent on Josh Simmons. And when he's played, he's looked awesome. But we all know he missed 5 weeks, and hopefully things are in a spot where he doesn't miss any more time. I actually thought he played really well yesterday. So if I were to ask you to divvy up on a pie chart, and you guys can call in on this if you want, or text 913-586-7965, who gets the most blame for where the organization is at now and moving forward? Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Patrick Mahomes. There's somebody else. Somebody wants to throw in Clark Hunt's name. I don't know necessarily why, but if you want to, go ahead. I think first and foremost, it's Andy Reid still, because ultimately he controls the entire coaching staff, number one. So if you have an issue, in my opinion, with Tobe or Spags, to me, that funnels into the Andy Reid category. I'm not going to divvy this up in between Andy Heck and Joe Colin and like all of a sudden start giving 0.5% to position coaches.
Right.
At least that, to me, I'm not going to do that. But so Andy Reid is the biggest chunk of the pie here from a in-game situation, how he is so loyal maybe at times to a fault, to coach/player. I think also no personnel move, whether he says it or not, happens without him at least somewhat signing off. So he gets the biggest chunk, I don't know, 60% or so at least, probably of the pie. Brett Veach is probably in the 10 to 15% category, maybe up to 20. And then after that, Patrick Mahomes, again, I'm not going to do the hardcore breakdown here of each piece, but Patrick Mahomes would be the next on my list for where they're at as an organization. He is not playing well, but I think some of the play calling is contributing to that, if that makes sense. He is flat out, though, pressing. So where are you at in the text line? I'm curious to get people's perspective, because I would love to hear the case where somebody is a bigger chunk of the blame pie for organizationally where they're at right this second, and how you feel about them moving forward than Andy Reid.
Yeah, earlier in the show, I had said that I think Brett Veach shoulders more of the blame than I would say you put him in, that 10 to 15%. I lean more towards him. He's 25 to 30%, in my opinion. I'm a little bit less. I have him less than Andy Reid. I didn't earlier in the show because you pointed out Veach is Andy's guy. Veach wouldn't be where he is without Andy. Veach, if Veach were to go to Andy Reid and say, I want to fire Dave Tobe, Andy Reid, if he were to say no, Dave Tobe still has his job, right? That's the relationship that those two have. It is different than any other GM head coach relationship, I would argue, in the National Football League. So when you bring that up, I hadn't thought about it to that extent yet, so it puts a little bit more of it on Andy, in my opinion. But I think Brett Veach deserves a little bit more criticism than he's getting. He also deserves all the praise at the same time, right? He's the first guy, and we've heard it over and over again, he was the first guy to see Patrick Mahomes on a tape that he was watching when he was a scout, and putting him in the face of Dorsey and Andy. He's a guy that has really advocated for some really good players, but there have been two glaring issues for Brett Veach that I think puts a little bit more of the blame on him. Not as much as Andy, because you're right. Big Red does have final say. The free agent acquisitions, or lack thereof, have been very, very harmful, I think, for this Kansas City Chiefs team in recent years. Bringing Jawan Taylor over from Jacksonville, I don't think has been a terrible move. I think the contract is terrible. The amount of money that you're giving Jawan Taylor has really, I think, hindered this Chiefs team. The lack of strength in going after positions of need in free agency. They haven't gone after a real difference maker at running back in the last few years. We talked about it earlier, not that they'd end up using him anyway, but when Elijah Mitchell is your free agent answer at running back, there's really no opportunity for that to be the solution. And on the defensive line, we all talked over and over and over again about how defensive line was the problem. Yeah, you went and you drafted Omar Norman-Lott and you drafted Ashton Gelati, but what do we know about Andy Reid and his philosophy? They don't use rookies early in their careers. It is a long-standing tradition of rookies having impacts later in the year or even into year two, but not right off the bat. Well, what do you do in free agency or in the market in the offseason to try to address defensive line? Well, you let Derek Nottie and Mike Pennell walk just to trade for one of them and sign the other off waivers after he was cut in the middle of the season. Oh, and then you sign Jerry Tillery, a former high draft pick who has had little to no NFL production whatsoever. So I understand, I'm with you that Andy has final say-so and he's the one signing off on these moves, but I don't know if Veach is doing enough in terms of finding these guys and bringing them to Andy in the first place to try to make things happen.
Yeah, he's certainly not absolved from criticism. I'm not acting like it's been a perfect operation. I think in season right now, I think it is way more about coaching, lack of adjustments, adapting, game plan, Mahomes, his execution. That's where I'm at for like this season. I think the challenging thing moving forward is going to be because of decisions in the front office. This is where Brett Veach will get criticism. Where they're at, the Chris Jones contract and what that position, what that has put them in now, positionally heading into the offseason, right? With the production they're getting, and then knowing that like there's no really getting out of that. He's on this team next year. They got to work on that cap number, knowing that they're going to have to figure out the contract for Trent McDuffie and make a tough decision either to retain him or try to see, is there an opportunity to get multiple draft picks the way
Jalen Watson,
that Sauce Gardner got multiple draft
Leo
picks.
Chenal.
This roster, though, here's the thing. This roster as it's currently constructed, while we may all agree, even before yesterday's game, that there are flaws. Of course there are. This roster, this is where it's coaching me. This roster is better than a 5-5 roster. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Like, plain and simple. So Brett Veach should get criticized, but the reason why it's much further down on the pie chart for me, this roster is not a 5-5 roster. So then what do you say? Then what is it? Well, some of it is, the one-score game stuff, regression to the mean, sure, right? You're not going to win every single one-score game, fine. But okay, let's say instead of being 0-5, they're 2-3. Well, then they've got 7 wins right now. So to me, this year, what has happened this year, Patrick Mahomes eats, a much bigger piece of the pie. And Andy Reid and the coaching staff, to me, is way more responsible for what is happening currently than I think we maybe want to admit. Brett Veach will have plenty of time in the offseason, and we have this past offseason. I told you, I thought just bringing back Kareem Hunt, spending a 7th-round pick on a running back, that to me was not a smart way to approach personally. How they went about the offseason and not valuing running back at all. And that can still be true while also acknowledging that yesterday Kareem Hunt was effective and they still wouldn't run the ball. So that's why I say what is happening, results right this second, are far more on the coaching staff.
I agree with you.
We're gonna get to the phones. Drew, go ahead, and then we'll get to the phones. 913-586-7965.
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick. Somebody from the 016 says everything's stale. Same players that can't make it on any other team in every position group. It's the same guys, the same play calling. They don't want anybody that doesn't know the system. They're loyal to a fault. I do wonder, and I think Cody brought this up. I don't know when it was exactly, but we brought up I think Matt Nagy came up. And let's say, Matt Nagy moved on. I think Cody mentioned something about Andy needing to get a player that's not from a system that he knows and just get somebody else from the
player
outside.
Or a coach?
I think it was a coach. It's like
not a player.
No, somebody to give a different perspective on the offense that hasn't been in his circle before or anything like that, where you get this loyal to a fault thing where sometimes it's good to hear other people's opinion that you don't trust, but it's good to hear things that are just different. And maybe you don't agree with all of it, but it gives you something that you can take and make a little change that actually ends up making a bigger difference.
Yeah, that's in the rundown for tomorrow. I'm sorry. You're good. That's fine. That's a whole topic tomorrow, exactly, which is having a fresh set of eyes and a fresh voice.
Yeah.
That's a whole conversation. No, I think it's fine to bring it up. We will dive deeper into that tomorrow. My only thing, real quick, without spoiling the whole conversation for tomorrow, is, and Bink will join me, and I want to get his thoughts on it tomorrow, is we can say bring in a fresh voice and fresh set of eyes all we want, but if Andy Reid is not willing to give that person much say and actually utilize said adjustment, he doesn't need to revamp his entire offense. Nobody's saying that. But I don't know, in any walk of life, right? Like if you, I don't care what business you run, if you've been in business for a while and sales are flat and you're like, man, I need to bring someone in with some new ideas, like they're going to help me with my sales, but then you don't like their ideas and you refuse to try them, then it was a waste of time bringing in a new person anyway. Yep. So That we will talk about that tomorrow because I don't disagree. All right, 913-586-7965. Before we get to stock up, stock down, I do want to read some texts. And also, John's been waiting patiently. John in Chanute, out south. John, you're on with Cody and Gold.
I blame Andy Reid, and I think that he needs to insist that there's the running of the ball, the player. Also, don't have a player that the opposite team can predict what they're going to do. They need to be very secretive, and if there's somebody leaking secrets out, they need to investigate that. But I put the blame on Andy Reid.
Hey, thanks for the call, John. Yeah, look, Andy Reid to me bears the majority of the responsibility. I think I don't really think there's much to debate. Like, I think we can have the conversation about Brett Veach and Mahomes, et cetera, but ultimately, this is his show. Mm-hmm. This is his show.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I also think that, some of that 30 to 35 that I'm putting on Veach has something to do with the relationship that he has with Andy Reid. What makes it special can also be its undoing, where Andy having final say-so or final sign-off on every decision that Veach makes is not normal and is not necessarily the way that it's supposed to be. And the fact that Veach is allowing that to happen, I feel like does put a little bit more blame on him, because the job of the general manager is to be the final line in the sand of, I like this guy. Your head coach may not like that guy, but sometimes those are the decisions that have to be made. You don't answer to the head coach. The head coach answers to you. At least that's the way it's generally supposed to happen.
All right, let's get to a little stock up, stock down. We typically do this on Mondays around 12:10. Some things got shifted around with the presser starting a little bit later. Stock up for me, we're talking about coaching. I guess I'm on a coaching theme today. This one's stock up, though. Vic Fangio's Eagles defense, I mean, it is hard not to be extremely impressed. Now, he, to his credit, was given an extra resource or two in the last week or so as well. Jalen Phillips looks awesome. If he can stay healthy, that's the key with Jalen Phillips. Will he stay healthy? But Vic Fangio's defense, what they just did to Jared Goff is next level stuff. Like, next level stuff. And I'm going to use that probably for my stock down as well. But it's this Eagles defense. While they still are maybe a boring watch offensively, that defense is why the Eagles, I think at last check, are Super Bowl favorites.
They are. Absolutely. My stock up is another coach, another coordinator. My stock up is Joe Brady's head coaching possibilities. I know everybody is talking ad nauseum today about Josh Allen's performance in that game yesterday against the Buccaneers, and rightfully so. 6 total touchdowns. But I don't think what's being talked about enough is what Joe Brady has done since he came over as the offensive coordinator for this Buffalo Bills team. This man, I thoroughly believe, is going to be a head coach next season. Yesterday's performance has benefited that, and he hasn't just made Josh Allen better. I mean, James Cook is in the middle of a career year while you have the reigning NFL MVP at the quarterback position. They're doing this with little to no weapons in terms of your wide receiver core. Dalton Kincaid didn't play yesterday. Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch because he missed a team meeting, and you still coached an offense to 44 points. Joe Brady is a very, very impressive offensive mind. A lot of people saying he's going to be a college head coach next year. I think this man should be a head coach at the highest level of football in the NFL a season from now. May end up being the head coach of your Cincinnati Bengals next year, trying to help along Joe Burrow, Drew.
He's been there, done that with Joe Burrow, actually, too, which I think maybe that improves the chances of that happening if they move on from Zach Taylor. My stock up is Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, but particularly Bryce Young, who had a career day yesterday. Granted, it wasn't overtime, but he had already passed his career high in passing yards before they got to overtime. He had 448 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a very good quarterback rating as well. It feels like, and obviously Ted McMillan continuing to just be really, really good. Xavier Legette also had a good game yesterday too, but it feels like if we can get a full season of what Bryce Young could be, he, I think, would fit into the category of what we would expect out of a first overall pick, a first-round pick, which is being in the top half of the league, fighting for a shot to be in that top 10. But it's just the inconsistencies at times that have gotten Bryce Young. But hey, Carolina's 6-5. They're a game out of the division right now, which is probably the more likely of the two to make the playoffs. I know they're ninth, I think, in the playoffs right now, but the schedule is not that favorable for Carolina going forward. But I wanted to give Bryce Young a little love because he had a career high yesterday. He looked very good.
Well, it's good to see, too, because the last couple games, even though the Panthers have been winning, he'd been throwing for like 140 yards, 130 yards.
Yeah.
It was pretty, pedestrian, to be nice. But, yeah, that was big time yesterday. All right, stock down. Going back to the Eagles game last night a little bit. Stock down Jared Goff in cold weather games, right? Not Jared Goff, just in cold weather games. Come playoff time, it's looking like the Lions are going to have to go outdoors, right? I don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed. So the Bears are leading the NFC North right now. The Lions would be out of the playoffs. Right now, the Lions would also be out of the playoffs, just like the Chiefs, just like the Ravens. In his career outdoors, he's under 50 degrees, He's a sub 60% completion passer. And last night, if anybody watched the game, I know some of you might not have wanted to watch because you're just bummed out, but that Jared Goff looked terrible. He was off. It wasn't just like drop passes. No. Like he can't play in the cold. He can't. Now his numbers have been better in the last 5 years because he's in Detroit than like when he was in LA. It was even worse. He's obviously a much better quarterback now. Was an MVP candidate a year ago. And I think overall the Lions as a football team will be fine. But if they got to go on the road in the playoffs, I will be fading Jared Goff.
He had a QBR of 9.5 yesterday.
Yeah.
He was 14 of 37.
California kid, played high school football in California, played at Cal, gets drafted by the Rams, and then when he does finally go up north, he's playing in a dome. Yeah, the cold weather does not suit Jared Goff by any stretch of the imagination. My stock down is another guy who played college ball in California, Sam Darnold. I was completely bought in last year with what he did in Minnesota, despite the fact that he completely collapsed in that Week 18 game against the Lions and then that ensuing wild card game. Early on in the year, he looked fairly good with Seattle. But in the last 4 weeks, this man has thrown 7 of his 10 interceptions on the season. And that includes 4 yesterday against the Los Angeles Rams. It's a game that Seattle lost by 2 points. And you turned it over 4 times. Not a good day by Sam Darnold, a guy who's been one of the more accurate quarterbacks in football this season, but he only completed 65% of his passes yesterday. 4 picks. He became very, very one-track minded with trying to get JS in the football. Not that I can blame him. Jackson Smith-Njigba has been remarkable this year. But my goodness, he did more to lose his football team the game than maybe any player in the National Football League yesterday for Seattle.
Did you see what Ernest Jones said after the game? Where he beat back this guy. He was like...
He told people to go F off if you don't like his quarterback.
Yeah, because of...
I like his quarterback. I don't like the way his quarterback played yesterday. It's pure and simple.
He says for you to go F off.
All right, fine.
My stock down is another quarterback, and it is Justin Herbert. Holy smokes, man. I know that the offensive line is bad, but we have seen quarterbacks who are supposed to be in that elite category play good with bad offensive lines, and he was atrocious yesterday. Not only do they get beat 35-6 by Jacksonville, and he also gets outplayed by Trevor Lawrence again, but he had 81 passing yards, no touchdowns, a pick. His average completion was 4 yards. Surprisingly enough, his QBR actually was better than Jared Goff's, but... Justin Herbert, he looked good to start the year. It's like, okay, maybe they're turning a corner. The Chargers are starting really good, 3-0 in the division. Justin Herbert looks like a legit maybe MVP candidate after the first few games. And then it's just gone downhill, falling flat on the face. And I know offensive line has obviously been a big part of some of the struggles at least, but he just has not been a quarterback that seems to elevate his team even when they're missing some guys.
That is stock up, stock down here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget Monday's football coverage is presented by Busey Bank, where they're focused on your success at Busey Bank. They've been building businesses and growing wealth since 1868. Learn more at buseybank.com. We'll get to what's trending. Then I want to talk more about something we discussed late last week that the Broncos were trying to accomplish, that they completed part 1. What's part 2? We'll also discuss how we view the Broncos as a legit Super Bowl contender next.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? It's Trent McDuffie. You're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays 10 to 2 on your home for Chiefs football, 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Our biggest deal is back. The Tires at Cost sale at Telly Tire and Auto Centers. You pay what we pay. No gimmicks, no catch. All in-stock tires from Telly's huge inventory at cost. Plus mounting and balancing by certified tire technicians for only $27.95. The top brands, the lowest possible prices, with a 30-day ride guarantee and lifetime tire protection. There's never been a better time to replace your worn-out tires. These unbeatable savings won't last long. Hurry and reserve your tires today. Take care of your car. Take advantage of our sale. Take it to Telly. Additional charges apply for junk tire disposal and road hazard warranty.
Since we opened our doors in 1868, Busey has fostered deep customer relationships and vibrant communities, embodying a legacy of partnership and progress. With multiple lines of business, we provide a range of financial solutions tailored to your needs. From digital banking to planning for retirement, Busey is here to help you achieve your financial goals. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
I'm worth more.
I'm worth more.
I'm worth a lot more.
And I completely agree. That's why I'll pay more for your car at GiveMeTheVin.com. That's the name of our new campaign. I'm worth more. You are worth more, and your car's worth more. And that's why I will pay more. And remember, if I don't beat the price on a CarMax or a Carvana deal, I'll pay you $100 at GiveMeTheVin.com.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
The FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets. From yards to touchdowns to who will win, with FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. Tonight, FanDuel's giving all customers a 30% profit boost token. That's right, you can get in on all the action with a 30% PBT this Monday night. So make FanDuel your go-to app for any snap. Whenever you want to bet, whatever you want to bet, just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to bet on the game. That's FanDuel.com/Alex. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
What's up, Missouri? Tony Gonzalez here. I've spent a lot of Sundays right here playing in front of the best fans in football. And now it's almost your turn to get in the game because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. Soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. It's America's top-rated sportsbook app. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day, December 1st.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 965. New Missouri customers, sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code 965. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Mitch Holtish, voice of the Chiefs. Everyone develops cataracts naturally as they get older. When your vision is affected by cataracts, you should see my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein at Silverstein Eye Centers. Dr. Silverstein is a world-renowned cataract surgeon who performs life-changing laser-assisted cataract surgery with premium lens implants to correct your vision up close and far away. Trust my eye doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein, Silverstein Eye Centers, 816-358-3600 to schedule an appointment.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we. With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
If you've been diagnosed with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis,
This is what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Imagine being a million miles away. Tremfya Kuselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. In clinical trials, at least 70% of patients saw at least 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks. Results may vary. Tremfya is also indicated for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Call 1-800-526-7736 or visit Tremfya.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening. Because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 25 cents for every purchase of Depend Shields, Guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
If you're 55 or older and into that whole saving money thing, T-Mobile has an exclusive phone and internet bundle just for you. Right now, get 2 unlimited phone lines plus 5G home internet for just $30 each per month with autopay, plus taxes and fees. And with 5G home internet, setup is easy with just 1 cord and no technician needed, which is great if you're also into that whole keeping it simple thing. Switch now and experience the best mobile network in the U.S. Visit your local store to start saving. T-Mobile, it's better over here.
Based on analysis by Ookla of speed test intelligence data Q4 2024 to Q1 2025. Ookla trademarks used under license. Unlimited on our network. Customers on voice plan may notice speeds lower than other customers and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization. Video streams and SD on this plan. Home internet pricing after $20 and monthly bill credit plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
Brought to you by Gomer's. 5 locations in the KC Metro or online at Gomers.com. If ringing in the holidays includes cheers and libations, Gomer's has your back. Voted #1 KC Liquor Shop, they offer a wide variety of beer, wine, and spirits at great prices. Stop by one of their 5 locations. You'll be glad you did.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this. What's trending?
God dang!
Brought to you by Telly Tire and Auto Centers. Winning starts with a great drive. Since 1942, Telly's certified techs have delivered complete car care with top brand tires and expert auto service. Keep your drive going. Take it to Telly. Visit TellyTire.com today.
Well, #1 on what's trending, obviously, the Chiefs dropping to 5-5 on the season after the loss yesterday in Denver. Kansas City will host the Colts on Sunday. We heard from Andy Reid earlier today. If you missed any of what he had to say or any of the show today, of course, podcasted through the Odyssey app, wherever you podcast as well. Kansas City currently 9th in the AFC. We were discussing this earlier. I think they have to go 6-1 because of the spot they're in tiebreaker-wise. I think 6-1 gets you in. 5-2 I don't think is good enough because I think you're going to lose out on tiebreakers. But I do think 6-1, that's a hell of a run they would have to go on, man. They've got 5 wins all year, and I'm asking them to win 6 of their last 7. That's the challenge. That's the real conversation we're having today and the real conversation for probably the rest of the season with the Chiefs.
I hope I'm wrong, but I have absolutely no confidence in the Chiefs being able to accomplish that. #2 on what's trending, we've got some college football news from over the weekend. Let's start with the Missouri Tigers, a 49-27 beatdown of Mississippi State, led, of course, by the 300-yard rushing game by Ahmad Hardy. He had 25 carries, a hat trick in terms of his rushing touchdowns in this one as well. Makes you wonder why Ahmad Hardy wasn't getting, 15 touches a game in those losses against Texas A&M or Alabama earlier this year. He's the best player on your team. Drink, maybe get him the football. Meanwhile, KU on a bye. K-State wins ugly against Oklahoma State behind 5 turnovers forced by that Wildcats defense.
14-6 win for K-State. Local college basketball tonight. K-State taking on Tulsa. That one at 7. Mizzou taking on Prairie View A&M. KU over the weekend got a win over Princeton without Darren Peterson. The Jayhawks tomorrow, we'll talk more about it. They have Duke in the Champions Classic, and all signs pointing to Darren Peterson not playing. In fact, much longer absence for him. We're going to discuss that tomorrow on the show.
Number 4 in what's trending. Big news out of the NFC South. It appears that Michael Penix, starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, is expected to miss the rest of the year. He is being put on injured reserve. That came directly from the Atlanta Falcons. It appears a left knee injury. They believe that he has some damage to his ACL. They're going to take some more tests to clarify it further. But this is big news for somebody like Michael Penix, who has a lengthy injury history already. Remember, he tore his right ACL twice while he was in college at Indiana. This would be an ACL tear on the left side if that's what comes to fruition. Bad knees for Michael Penix could end up being the undoing of this young first-round pick.
So Kirk Cousins gets the nod the rest of the way. Monday Night Football tonight. Raiders hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas about a 3.5-point favorite tonight. Remember, Kansas City gets the Cowboys in 2 weeks. And lastly, on what's trending, Logan, over the weekend, Google and Disney, ESPN, YouTube TV ended their disputes. We're all back. I know Drew was very happy about that. Did you get the $20 credit before it came back too?
Yep,
so you get that as well. There you go.
I did.
2 weeks of not having it for $20, and we get the unlimited stuff.
I was going to say, I think that's great.
Problem is, in January or February, I'm guessing YouTube TV is going to raise their rate. So that $20 credit will end up going away very quickly.
Yeah,
my
unfortunately.
guess. That's what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Drew Nixon, Logan Weber with you. Cody back on Wednesday. Bink in with me tomorrow. Something we talked about on Friday, at least Bink and I did, Logan, was kind of the stages of where the Chiefs were at going into the game. You know, I thought it was like a somewhat of a validation game opportunity for the Broncos. Validate what they had already done. You can be skeptical about Bo Nix, et cetera, but they validated what they have done. They're now a 9-win team. They just beat Kansas City in what the Broncos were calling their biggest home game in a decade. And we called it here in Kansas City the biggest regular season game for Patrick Mahomes. And the Broncos, of course, came out on top. The Broncos accomplished part one of, knocking the king off the throne. They did in the AFC West. The question is, did they by winning that game knock them off of the entire NFL throne to a certain extent? Like the Eagles, you can say, are on the throne right now, but I'm talking no, like playoff run stuff, still being the team to beat in the AFC and all that kind of stuff. Part one is done. The division is over. The Broncos or Chargers, I think it'll be the Broncos are going to win that division. I don't see how on earth anybody can make a strong case that the Chiefs are winning out and then the Broncos are going to fall apart and the Chiefs are winning the division. Come on. That is some Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
That I don't think anybody can really even be sipping on. So that's over. But part two, the next phase is either not making the playoffs, which is, it sounds like you think will not be the case, that they won't make it. And I totally get it. Or a first round type of exit. That's the next phase. Like the complete picture of like, hey, they're just in the wash with everybody else. Like I know in the standings right now you'll say that, but I'm talking narrative. I'm talking why you and I have said, hey, nobody fears them anymore. All that is already accomplished. The last step is if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs. Tomorrow we're going to talk more about Tom Brady's track record in New England and the dynasty and everything. Tom Brady missed the playoffs one time when he was healthy for a full season. One time. Is this that time for Patrick Mahomes? And so that's why this year and now the rest of the way is also big. If you buy into legacy stuff, the Mahomes fourth quarter magic hasn't been there this year, guys. He's completed 44.7% of his passes when he's tied or trailing in the fourth quarter. That's dead last in the NFL in that stat. That's not all on him. That's a play calling stat as well. But that just tells you like all the normal, like what Sean Payton, we played the audio earlier, when Sean Payton was saying, we feel good where we're at. The team we're playing is a first half team, not a second half team. That's how people feel they are now, that the Chiefs aren't closers anymore. 0-5 in one-score games. Mahomes with the worst completion percentage in those spots in the NFL right now.
You had 2 drives when it was 19-16 Chiefs leading and when it was a 19-19 tie in the last 8 minutes of the game. Chiefs ran 6 plays for a total of -3 yards and took less than 3 minutes off the clock. They are just not that club, at least not right now. If they can show us otherwise over the next 7 weeks, we will gladly welcome it. But right now, they are not that team in the fourth quarter anymore. The analogy that I have is when you talk about, where the Chiefs are right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are a heavyweight boxer, heavyweight champion of the world, who just got knocked to the canvas, and the official just threw out the 8 count. That's where we are right now. They're on number 8 of the 10 count, where they are right there on the edge of being completely knocked out. And I compare it to Aaron Rodgers' time in Green Bay. This feels a lot like that 2013 Packers team where they went and won the Super Bowl in 2010. They came back in 2011. They went 15-1. They were still the class of the NFC, but they somehow lost the divisional round game to the New York Giants, right? And then they go 11-5 in 2012. But that Rodgers contract and all that money you had to shell out to those big name guys who helped you win a Super Bowl started to rear its ugly head that you couldn't plug holes in other spots. They go 8-7 in that 2013 season, and they ended up actually making the playoffs that year. They lost a wild card game. The only difference is the Chiefs don't have the benefit of a terrible NFC North to play in every year, right? Rodgers and that Packers team made the playoffs way more than they should have in that tenure because of how bad their division was. The Lions were a joke. The Bears were a joke, and they just ran over them every year. This AFC West is not that. With the Denver Broncos being the second best defense in the National Football League, some would argue the best defense in the NFL, the Los Angeles Chargers with a great head coach in Jim Harbaugh and a great quarterback, they just have dealt with injury issues. It's just what the Chargers have done. That is where this feels to me like where the Chiefs are at, is they're that heavyweight boxer that is absolutely jarred and on the canvas right now. Feels like Rodgers, where the holes that the Chiefs have can't get plugged anymore because you have so much money tied up into where your strengths are that it causes those weaknesses to gash you even more than they already were. I cannot sit here and act like I have confidence anymore. I can't. It would be disingenuous.
I think the roster, that goes back to the Brett Veach conversation, right? The roster construction and all that. I just think in general, clearly, it goes without saying, the gap has been closed with everybody else. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it, I think I agree with you, which is, hey, you've got some of the best coaches in the league in your division. You've got better quarterback play in the division than you've had in a couple of years. But this is not just a divisional conversation. Yes, it starts there. It's why we just said, hey, for the first time, the Chiefs in a decade are not going to win the AFC West. That in its own right is a huge, huge deal. But they are currently 9th in the AFC. Their wins this year are against the Giants, the Ravens when they were really down bad, the Lions, that's their best win of the season, not even close, right? The Raiders and the Commanders. They have losses against Chargers, current playoff team, Philly, current playoff team, Jacksonville, current playoff team, Buffalo, current playoff team, yeah. And then obviously Denver, current playoff team.
Yeah.
They haven't beat anybody. This is more than just a divisional conversation. You know what I mean? Like someone says we've watched them for 10 weeks. What's there to make us believe they're going to be anything different? Logan said he doesn't think they're making the playoffs. I don't think we're being optimistic instead of realistic. If you've been listening to the show today, I don't think I've been overly optimistic. I know Logan hasn't either. Nope. I think we've been telling it kind of like it is. Now Logan is already saying flat he doesn't think they're making the playoffs. All I have said, I guess, that if you want to say is optimistic today, is that I don't think today I can tell you for sure they're not making the playoffs. I'm not there yet. I want to see them play the Colts. And you're saying, and that's fine, we disagree, what else do I need to see? And that's fine. That's a fine take. I'm just saying I've seen the NFL is what I would say. It's like that weird bleep happens in the NFL, and even you would admit that you couldn't be completely shocked if they won on Sunday. I'm telling you, I don't think it's being optimistic. I'm telling you they have to go 6-1. Is that being optimistic? I'm not saying they're going to. I'm telling you they have to go 6-1, and if they beat the Colts, I think that might be in play because of the schedule. Like I just listed off how they haven't beat good teams. The beautiful thing is, after the Colts, what other playoff? They got the Broncos and Chargers. The only other playoff teams possibly they're going to face. They play Tennessee. They play Houston, who's not a playoff team currently. You're tied with them, but they're not a playoff team currently. So that's all I'm saying. Like, fortunately for them, they don't play many more playoff teams. That would be my only hope moving forward. That are they still at least better than some of the crap they're going to see? Now, they're average. That's literally what they are. They are 5-5. They are an average football. By definition, they are a mediocre average football team.
The Chiefs logo is sitting there next to the definition inside Webster's dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we got into this before the Bills game, and we're going to find out when they go to Dallas, and then they still go to Houston, or excuse me, they go to Tennessee later on in the year. Their stretch when they played their best football was always at home. It was not on the road. Like we had the question before the Bills game: does the offense travel and all that? And I'm not saying that they solely lost yesterday or any of these games, because if you've been listening to the show today, you know that I think the coaching has been abysmal. But for whatever reason, some of it opponent-based, sure, Raiders and Commanders, but the Lions were at home. For whatever reason, they have played way better at home. And so if you're asking, like, why is there an ounce of some, I guess call it optimism, that they could win on Sunday against the Colts, we'll talk more about it later in the week. It's mainly because of that, a little bit of the Arrowhead part of it. Other than that, yeah, I hear you. The Colts are coming out of a bye as well.
They posted the stat, or they put the stat up. I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday. CBS did during the broadcast.
Yeah.
Well, for the first time, Mahomes lost 4 road games in a single season, but also looking at the disparity in his stats, and I know they probably took a hit yesterday too. At home games this year, he's throwing 69% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. On the road, going into yesterday, 59.6% completion rate, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah.
And I know that, I don't know how much, not to say that he lost not an edge, but it's hard to ignore that stat. Like at first, if it's the first 5 games of the season, maybe you don't look too much into it. But now that we're halfway through the season, beyond halfway, there's got to be something to this, but I don't know exactly what it is. If it's an ounce of everything, like we've talked about today, it's play calling, it's Mahomes himself, it's drop passes, it's all of it.
Yeah, the only good thing is, I mean, maybe we'll do this more on Wednesday's show a little bit later on in the week when Cody's back too, because that's the only part about the rest of the way is that their 2 road games left are the Raiders and the Titans.
Yeah,
that's the 2 road games are the Raiders and the Titans, and that may not be enough by any means. In fact, it's not enough, just those 2. But my point is, the toughest part of the schedule after Sunday is behind them, and so that's what I'm saying. If they can pull one out of their, you know what, on Sunday, and it feels like that's what it's going to take.
Yep.
Then that's the only path I could see. They lose Sunday, it's over. It's done. I think they would be demoralized. Honestly, I think there would be, like, they can put on a good face publicly. I think there would be some guys that are demoralized in the locker room if they were to lose 3 in a row, which is what it would be if they lose to the Colts. And be sitting at 5-6 and be under 500. It would be officially, in my opinion, over at that point.
You'd be losing 3 in a row for the second time in a calendar year. If you go back to...
Sorry, Dallas is on the road. I apologize.
Yeah,
sorry.
You lose the Super Bowl, and then you lose your first 2 games of the year this year, in this season, and then this happens again. You fall to 5-6 heading into a Week 13 game, somewhere that, I mean, obviously they've never been 5-5. So to be 5-6 is completely unfounded territory for the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, Drew, going back to your point about the fourth quarter stuff, and somebody in the text line said it like this earlier, says that it feels a little bit like they've gotten full on their own success. It feels like at times they've sort of become complacent. Their ability to win these 1-score games sort of alludes to maybe this team just feels like they can turn it on and off like a light switch. That when the moment is biggest, they can just will themselves to a win, right? Keep teams along, play with your food, quote unquote, and when it matters, strike the death blow. Well, this year, those jabs have been missing. Those uppercuts just haven't connected the way that they have in years past. And I don't know if that is because of all the success where you don't feel like it's life or death in those moments. It doesn't feel like the moment is at its brightest anymore because you've had all this success in the past.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought against the Broncos, the urgency, I mean, what other case do you need? I mean, to me, that would have been the game. Like, you know, if we're going to argue that they're just kind of going through the motions, then that's not something that's getting resolved because they just played Denver on the road out of a bye week, everything on the line, and that was still the effort that was put out there, performance that was put out there. So I don't know if I agree with this. Like they're just waiting for that big moment. I think this is kind of who they are, though, as a football team. And from a coaching staff not to continue to harp on the run game part, but what you just said about waiting for that moment, I think again they want to win as a coaching staff in a certain way. And the reality in that game against Denver yesterday is it was not going to be on the final 2 drives of Patrick Mahomes coming up with the big throw after big throw. I know that's what it has been.
Yeah.
In that game, that's to me not what it needed to be. It needed to be run the football a little bit more. You were having success against the best defense, second best defense in football, and they refused to go that route because, in my opinion, it's the arrogance part of it. Like they want to win in the high flying way, like they did against the Commanders and the Raiders and the Lions. That's fun. That's fun. Who doesn't enjoy that? Well, I think there's some of that happens too.
If we're also in a spot now where I think we all can agree now, not only are the Chiefs worried about what they're doing, but you got to start paying attention to what Jacksonville does and what the Chargers do. Chargers have a bye week this week. They're 7-4. Jacksonville has Arizona on the road. Arizona hasn't looked that good, even though Jacoby Brissett just whatever. So what set an NFL record for most completions in a game. They got throttled. So I know. But if the Jags win this game and the Chiefs lose to the Colts, they have to run the table to even give themselves a chance at it. And they might not even get that chance, even if they did run the table.
Yeah, and that's why I said I think they have to go 5-2. To me, won't get it done with the tiebreakers. 6-1, and then just for the psyche and everything and belief, I think it has to be a win against the Colts. If win out after losing 3 in a row, give me a break. Like they're going to lose 3 in a row.